In this world, every person has an occupation already decided for them by God. The hero of this story is no exception, save for the fact that he drew the short end because of his useless occupation, a thief. He believes this was the reason he was abandoned, and unlike most humans who are born with the potential to use magic, he wasn't so fortunate in that department either. Who'd want a thief who can't use magic? Here's the other thing. The goddess Lunalith had a prophecy, the demonic dragoon that lives at the edge of the world. The very same dragon that once destroyed the ancient kingdom will raise an army of minions. From there, they would eventually seek to destroy the world, humans and other races alike. From this same prophecy, a party of adventurers decides to rise to the challenge and defeat the dragon. The party consists of Archknight Farina, High Priestess Sheska, Automaton Enju, and the thief Might, our hero. Right now, all four of them stand before the demonic dragon of the end to slay the beast for good. Farina was the first to attack and slash the dragon, but it's no use. The creature has a protective barrier against physical attacks. Might decides to move out, telling Farina that he'll look for the weak spots and create an opening for Farina. Might veers on the side, avoiding direct confrontation with the dragon when suddenly its tail sloshes and almost hits him head-on, had he not jumped out of the way in the nick of time. Seeing the force of the tail alone, he knows he's dead meat with just one hit. Seeing what just happened to him, Farina asks Enju to support Might, which the latter does as she relinquishes her support fire, Magna Flame Hexablast. She attacks the dragon with this energy beam, catching the latter's attention and allowing Might to carry on with finding an opening for Farina. The dragon prepares to counterfire when Might notices this, so he uses his provoke skill to get the dragon's attention. The beast immediately faces him, ready to open fire as it blasts Might away. Thankfully, our hero's after-image skill saved his neck as he leaped away from the dragon's line of fire. Sheska warns Might to get back, fearing for his safety, but the latter tells her to focus on Farina's protection instead. But all that moving around is taking a heavy toll on Might's body. You see, like all things, the thief's techniques also have their limits upon consecutive use. If they can't use their techniques, then they'll be useless for a few seconds, which in Might's mind translates to him being dead weight for the party. As hard as he might, no pun intended, our hero could never surpass this wall, no matter how hard he tried. This is where his greatest frustration often shows up most. If only he had the power of magic on his side too. Be that as it may, Might continues to fight with everything he has, hurling a dagger straight at the dragon's feet. This is no ordinary dagger. It has a gem attached to it that explodes, which comes in handy, especially with the way Might was able to collapse the dragon's footing. He signals his party mates to do it now, just as Sheska starts chanting the spell to boost Farina's offensive attack. Enju, on the other hand, continues to provide cover fire, determined to keep the attacks rolling. She uses Magical Flash Full Burst Volley to keep the dragon distracted. Her attacks, along with the smoke and debris, provided enough cover, but the dragon won't sit still. It whips its tail, sending pieces of debris flying all over the hero's party, only for the dragon to miss the one thing that will take it down. Farina had crept up quietly and struck the monster down in one fell swoop. Finally, the demonic dragon of the end collapses to the ground, lifeless, as Farina pants before it, exhausted from that one attack. Sheska and Enju stand by the side, along with Might, who instantly felt something was amiss. He sees something the others couldn't see. For them, they see a smiling but exhausted Farina, but for him, he sees remnants of dark energy from the dragon's dead body transfer to Farina's sword. Might quickly snatch the sword away from Farina with his weapon steal skill, and no sooner than he did than all the dark energy from the sword seeps right into his body. Might could only sit still in shock and pain before he finally collapsed to the ground. The others rushed over to him, calling out his name, but Might was already heaving for dear life. As he lay there, spitting blood, Sheska finally realized that he had been struck with the curse of death, and it was activated by the high-ranking dragon right before it died. Farina can only cry, cradling him into her arms as she sobs over how Might may have known this all along. But no, Might didn't. It's just his thief's survival instinct that made him sense the danger.
At the time, his instincts were telling him to run, but his care and loyalty to his party mates got the better of him as he saved Farina from danger.
Sheska tries to heal him, but it is of no use. He is too far gone. As Might lay there dying surrounded by his friends, he thought that it wasn't too bad how he managed to fight against his occupation's restrictions. He looks up to see Farina bawling her eyes out and asking, "Why?" while clutching his rigid hand, already veined and darkened by the curse. He couldn't speak anymore, but if he could, Might would have told Farina how he never wanted to make her cry. He always thought it would work out, but such is the life of a non-magic user of a thief. In his dying moments, Might remembers his childhood and how his earliest memory is of him rummaging through the trash in the alleyways of Pleasure City. Because he was a thief with no magical power, there was no place for him in this world. Living in such conditions, it didn't come as a surprise that the young Might contracted an illness early on. The rest of the kids refused to help him out, with one of them, their leader, Big Sister Mabel, even saying that he's already done for. Might may be too sick at the time, but he also heard what they said. For someone like him who's down with a fever, all he could do was die without causing trouble for anyone. With that, he left their base and went to the woods to accept his death. Might finds a clearing and lies down, accepting his death, when suddenly he hears someone call out to him. As he sits up, he sees an older man leaning over him and healing him, saying it would be a waste for young Might to die there. Just like that, Might has finally experienced magic for the first time. Ironically, the same man who saved our hero was quite the paradox, a wandering adventurer. He was a middle-aged degenerate monk who took pleasure in alcohol and women. Despite this, the monk took care of young Might for a few days, until it was time for them to go. Just as they were leaving, Might called out to the older man asking how he could be like him, someone who could help people. Upon hearing that, the monk squats beside him and asks Might what he thinks the power to save others is. Might confidently answer that it's magic, which made the older man question him. A child with no mana if he's seeking magic. Instead of encouraging him, the older man laid out the inevitable truth in front of Might about how it's the will of the gods that will decide whether a person's job or mana exists. According to him, this is also what makes an occupation the pinnacle of magic, since it could even turn someone like Might into a sage. Poor Might just have had to be reminded of the harsh reality, since in truth, there's not a single thing he could do to change fate. The older man pats him on the head, and he is about to recall what this old degenerate monk said when Might hears his name being called out again. His eyes shot open, and the first thing he sees is a woman peering down on him. That's when he realizes he's floating in midair with this woman. He becomes a bit apprehensive, asking who the woman is and where he is. Instead of answering his question, the woman tells him of the door to paradise that's located at the ends of the world and how there is a land of gods beyond that door. Hasn't he heard of that before? The woman extends her hand to help Might up, just as he takes it and tells her that it's just a fairy tale. If anything, the only thing he's heard about is how there's a demon dragon at the end of the world. The woman continues that the demon dragon had closed off the path to the door to paradise. Now that the path is open, the god's realm has reached out to Might. That's when it dawned upon him who he was talking to. This is the goddess Lunalith. She tells him that he received the demon dragon's curse of death, and given how he's already a goner, the goddess explains that normally she would take his soul to the land of the gods. However, she decided to grant him a reprieve for now, postponing the inevitable as she filled him in about what happened. For one, Lunalith had just finished interviewing Might's party mates, and all of them hoped for his revival. Since the gods have heard their pleas, they will make up their minds after Lunalith has spoken with him. After Might's party defeated the demon dragon, the gods can now interfere with the mortal realm. As a token of her gratitude, Lunalith smiles before she tells Might that she'll grant him one wish. Might drew a blank as soon as he heard that, and at the same time everything came flooding back to him. While still shaking, he asked the goddess if it's really possible because maybe, just maybe, his one wish could come true. But no, what if it's just a tall tale? Seeing his hesitation, Lunalith explains that this is the reason why the two of them are in this sort of limbo in the first place. Wasn't Might trying his best to defeat that dragon a while ago? Well, there's no use lying in front of a goddess because she could easily see through his innermost desires. Since it's like that, he might as well bare his soul for judgment. Before he tells his wish, Might asks if the goddess would hear him out first without judgment, then proceeds to share his story. As all of us already know, Might is the only thief in the world who has no magic power. And in a world full of magic, it's practically him being labeled as useless. Be that as it may, he wants to be able to use magic, and for that he wants to become a sage. There was a moment of silence as Might waited for what Lunalith would say, and as the silence stretched on, he hung his head low in defeat. Well, he already expected this much, of how his wish can't possibly be granted. To his surprise, Lunalith tells him that it's possible, it can be granted. Changing the given occupation is one of the powers granted to the goddess after all, but in doing so, it would also mean that Might would go back to level 1. Might is at level 99 right now, and if he goes back as a beginner, it would also be hard for him to go back to being a thief. Might's face is a dead giveaway of how he's feeling. He's already bubbling with joy on the inside, but wait a minute, as a level 1, does that mean he's only allowed to enter areas with that corresponding level range? Lunalith affirms, adding that he can't see any of his friends anytime soon. That's fine with him. He remembers the girls telling him back then how they had something to do in their respective hometowns. However, it would still mean that once he goes back to level 1, he won't be able to enter and see them for a good while. Might turns to Lunalith, asking her if she'll be telling everyone about him, but she only shakes her head. This only reinforced the idea that he needs to raise his level to meet everyone again. But this wasn't the only catch if he changes his occupation. Lunalith adds that there's no guarantee that Might will learn attack or healing magic since he'll learn magic that's inherent to his natural talents. Might never have thought about this, a type of magic that's suited for him? Since what they're about to do is a rare case, even Lunalith doesn't have any idea what kind of magic Might would be like. In answer, Might only smiled, and the goddess already knew that he had made up his mind. With that, she motions ahead, where a sphere of light starts to glow before transforming into a magical door. She instructs Might to pass through the door and to keep walking in a straight line. Soon after, his occupation will change, and he'll appear near a familiar place. Might starts marching toward the door without hesitation when Lunalith suddenly calls out to him. He turns to see that the goddess is on her knees, thanking him and addressing him as the hero who defeated the demon dragon Letitia. With her head bowed, Lunalith gives praise to him. as he finally remembers what that degenerate monk told him back then. If he could do something that would surprise the gods, then they'll come to humble themselves of their own free will, which is what Lunalith is doing right now. Might smiles and tells the goddess to raise her head, saying he did all of that just for this opportune moment. And with that, he opens the door and walks straight to it, as the light embraces him. Lunalith smiles and urges him to walk on while praying for him to have the blessings of, well, Might never get to hear the end of what she said. Why? Because when he came to, he found himself in the middle of the woods. Based on the watchtower on his right, it only means he's in Please City Fortune. He asks aloud if he has really come back, but no sooner had he heard his voice than he clutched his throat in surprise. Might runs to the lake to see his reflection, and to his surprise, he has gotten younger. His clothes change too as he scours the surroundings for his original equipment. That's when he saw the crystal storage behind him. He takes the small item in his hand, remembering how he always relied on his friends to store his stuff since he has no mana. Well, now that he's a sage, he should be able to use it. This only means that he really has changed jobs. If his occupation in this life really is a sage, then he can use this, right? With his eyes closed, Might commands the item to open, and it does. For the first time, Might sees a prompt showing all his equipment, which consists of a legendary thief's amber dagger, unknown shadow shoes, and the next thief's bandana. For a sage, he sure has a lot of thief stuff in his property, huh? Still, Might's pretty amazed since he finally knows what the crystal storage looks like. Furthermore, he can also feel a power surging through his veins, which he has never felt before, so this is magic. Might can't help but cry out in joy. Finally, he's a magic user. He starts inspecting his items, starting with the dagger as he sloshes it sloppily from side to side. Looking at the dagger in his hand, which used to be his favorite weapon, he can't believe he's having a hard time using it. Well, this only means he's really not a thief in this world, no. Using his newly acquired magic, Might seals off the thief's equipment because if he tries to use it carelessly, he might end up hesitating to use it in an emergency. Now then, if he really has become a sage in this world, then he needs to be able to handle things with his current abilities. With that in mind, Might figures it's time to check his capabilities as a sage. What was it again? Our hero chants a mantra to summon a fireball, but he's only met with silence. Well, that was embarrassing. He's pretty sure he got the chant right, and as far as he knows, even level 1 sages can use that technique. Well, maybe he'll have a go with the other elements, so he tries Ice Lance, Thunderbolt, and Lightning, but it's a nada. Our poor hero is on his knees. Why is nothing working for him? Wait a minute, this must be what Lunalith was talking about, how there was no guarantee that he'll learn attack or healing magic since the kind of magic he'll learn is matched with his talents. Is that it? Does this really mean that there's no magic tailored for him? No! Might refuses to entertain this thought, telling himself it's to give up. Now that he remembers it, Enju and Sheska both had an activation tool, so maybe he should buy something like that first. Maybe he can use magic if he just levels up. Remembering that was what happened with his thief skills then. Might decides to go to Fortune, though he keeps a wary disposition since he quarreled with the Thieves Guild when he went on his journey. Might heads straight to the Beginners Guild and sees 3 girls crowding the concierge. One of them is lamenting about their hard efforts just to bring this item all the way to the guild, but be that as it may. The guild's concierge lady tells them that they do not accept unlocking treasure chests at their guild. One of them quips that they may have to go to the Thieves Guild, as much as they don't want to. While all this is going on, Might maintains a safe distance where he can observe and hear the exchange between the ladies. Looking at the item, he wonders if the treasure chest was found near the area. From the looks of it, Might thinks there's not even much inside. Back to the guild lady, she tells the 3 girls that they usually have lockpicks ready, but unfortunately they're already out of stock for the day. Now that just dampened the girls' mood even more. What the heck are they supposed to do with this chest now? The smallest of the girls, the one wearing a hat, suggests they try exploding the chest with chemicals, but the first one counters that everything inside could get destroyed. The tallest of them tries to pry it open with her own hands, leaving Might feeling incredulous at what she's trying to accomplish. Upon seeing her do that, the guild lady urges them to open the chest somewhere else, as the big girl realizes that there may be a trap inside. To that, she bangs her chest with her fist, saying they shouldn't worry about it. After all, she's a paladin who has received a blessing from the gods, so she won't fall prey to any of the goblins' traps. Speaking of goblins, the little one says those creatures left the chest and ran away. She also tried to make them give her the key with a hypnotic drug, but unfortunately she didn't mix the potion properly. The first girl tries to low-key shush her, saying she shouldn't talk about mixing drugs lightly like that in public. Even Might, who has been listening to their conversation, finds that pretty crazy work even for a beginner. Our hero eyes the surroundings and only sees 2 male adventurers sitting at a table not too far off from the girls. Well, he expected this much because the Beginners Guild is full of newcomers and beginners who are just right for their level range. This is why Fortune is also called the Town of Beginnings by other places. Might finally get a good look at the first girl from the trio. Is she a melee class? Her equipment quality is pretty good, which might suggest that she also came from a good family, but seeing how she acted earlier, it's no secret that it's the attitude of a beginner. The girl stares back at Might, forcing the latter to look away, pretending to cough. As for the female knight, who is the paladin of the group, Might instantly knew that she was not a good choice for lockpicking. As for the little one, Might deduced that she's a pharmacist from the way she spoke alone. In the end, the girls haul the chest away from the concierge, thinking it'll be hard to open it without a thief in their party. As for Might, well, he didn't feel like he was a thief. Besides, right now he's just a newbie, so he needs to be mindful of how he behaves. Just as the trio walks past Might, our hero eyes the chest and thinks that if he were still a thief, then maybe he could open it with his hands, without even using a lockpick. As soon as he thought about this, his hand twitched, followed by the chest's keyhole glowing. The first girl from before turns to Might with wide eyes as she looks at the item in his hand. Even as their group walked past him, the girl still stared at what Might was holding, which prompted him to take a look at what she was staring at. It was a key. Might stares at the key that magically materialized in his hand. Why is a key in his hand? Just then, the paladin girl calls out Listy, the name of the first girl who's caught staring at the key in our hero's hand. Listy asks her friend if she knows Might, but the latter says she doesn't. Their pharmacist adds that this is just one of those deja vu instances, kind of a thing in life, right? As they mull it over, Might sneakily walks past them, just in time for the guild lady to call out for the next in line. Might approaches the concierge and tells her that he wants to register as an adventurer. She confirms first if this is his first visit and asks for his name. Our hero introduces himself as Might Slade, while she rummages for something in the drawer to check his occupation. The lady produces a card and asks him to touch it. Looking at the item, Might can't help but smile at the familiarity of it all. It's a beginner's white card. You see, rankings are based on the color of their cards, with the black card as the top rank. Might removes his gloves and taps the card, and as soon as he does, it lights up, showing his information as a level 1 sage. Okay, good. This moment just confirms that our hero really is a sage with magical powers. But now that he's looking at the information prompt, he sees that he's actually 15 years old. Does that mean he reverted to an age that's appropriate for level 1? Since he's already here, Might takes this opportunity to ask the concierge lady a question he's been wondering about since earlier. Can a sage use magic at level 1? The lady tells him that he doesn't exactly learn how to use special skills, it just happens naturally. However, it's still expected of him to learn it in real combat. This area is meant for adventurers who are below level 10. It's why Fortune, the City of Pleasure, is otherwise called the City of Beginnings after all. Even though it's like that, many of the people who come to the Beginners Guild are mostly level 3 or higher. To get to that level, they're usually required to take on some actual field experience. Listening to her explanation made Might realize that it's pretty rare for a level 1 like him to register. This also highlights another problem for him since it would be hard to find allies who would want to have a rookie on the team, right? The concierge lady feels bad for him, unconsciously squeezing her humongous rack together as she wonders what she can do for our hero. But more important than that, Might's a little too preoccupied with how her melons are screaming for his attention. Meanwhile, she's still rambling about how someone as young as him would struggle to take on quests. Ah, the hot-bloodedness of youth. A second later, she notices Might's flushed face as he assures her that he's fine. But it is strange, why can't he calm down? Poor Might's vision is still zeroed on the lady's rack while wondering if this is the effect of becoming younger. Does he have an older woman fetish? Nah, that can't be. Wait a minute. Could this be how the world normally is without the thief's calmness skill? He remembers now how Farina and the others commend him for keeping his cool, though Sheska finds it a little disappointing sometimes. And here he thought that was part of his personality back then. Wait, now that he realized it, he can also use polite speech easily, something he used to struggle with when he was a thief. Maybe this change really came through because of his change of occupation from thief to sage. This change in occupation's effect is much deeper than Might originally thought. Back to his primary concern, Might asks the lady how he can know what kind of magic he can use. The latter ponders for a moment, then explains that it all boils down to action. It's pretty rare for someone not to have used a special skill even once, so she asks him if there ever was a time when he accidentally activated it. Might's mind quickly remembers the scene from a while ago about the sudden appearance of the key in his hand. He rummages through his pocket to check, only to find out that it's gone. Did he drop it? No, the key's really gone for good. So how about this? He asks the lady if there's a magic that can create something out of nothing, even if it's small. Is that possible? Well, the lady turns and looks at the shelves behind her before choosing a certain book. She flips through it and says that what he might be referring to is a form of summoning magic. Summoners are the people who use that kind of magic, but it's a pretty rare job, and the guild has not one single registration of an adventurer with that kind of magic. On top of that, there's also teleportation magic. She says only advanced magic classes are able to do that, but Might says that's not exactly the kind of magic he has in mind. Well, there's also the kind of magic that's like directly out of a fairy tale. She tells him that this kind of magic is called materialization, wherein it allows the magic user to turn magical energy into physical matter. But she quickly adds that all that stuff is relevant to this starting town, slamming the book shut as she said so. Might still thank her for the help, just as she bows an apology for not being able to do much. As she does so, her chest squishes against the book, making Might's eyes fidgety again. That's when he saw something on her chest. Is that some kind of lock? But it was gone as soon as it appeared. After a beat, the lady finally calls him out as it was quite obvious he was downright staring at her chest now. Might apologize again and change the subject, saying he wants to start work right away. She tells him that he can look at the bulletin board for applicant calls that match his condition. After a while, Might exits the guild with tough luck. As expected, it's pretty hard to find a party that recruits rookies like him, since they're often on the lookout for level 3 and above. He also knows that there aren't many assignments for solo adventurers, but this just really puts him in a tight spot. As he mindlessly strolls over the city, his thoughts circle back to the lock on that lady's chest earlier. Could there be a connection with the key? Just then he hears a girl cry out from behind, calling out to him to come over. Might stops, muttering if she's referring to him, and a few moments later, the girl called Listy suddenly appears on his side. She approaches him, asking if he thinks she's suspicious. This Listy girl is quick to say that she's not here to cause trouble and swears it by Lady Iris. Iris, huh? That's a totally different name from the goddess who helped change Might's occupation. Now that he remembers it, the followers of Iris are pretty hostile to the Thieves Guild, which is why he doesn't have a lot of good memories about them. Listy's voice snaps him out of remembering the past, as she asks about the key he was holding earlier. He was holding one a while ago, right? She continues that this may be quite a reach, but she still asks anyway if he happens to pick up the goblin treasure chest key by chance. Might quickly tell her no, that she never even picked it up in the first place. Before he could elaborate further, Listy stops him, saying he shouldn't underestimate a maiden's intuition. But all Might could say is that she's just a rich girl from somewhere, but she stands firm on not underestimating her intuition, taking a peek at whether he's buying her act. Might remains motionless because he can easily discern everything just by her clothes and actions alone. But Listy is relentless, she's still on it about the key. This time she asks if it's a master key for treasure chests or something. Again, she reiterates how her intuition is always on point, giving a little wink as she says so. Well, that may have been enough to make Might's heart skip a little bit. But now that he thinks about it, the key disappeared. But when the lock lit up, the key appeared in his hand again. Could it happen again if he's faced with the same scenario? But more importantly, could something as convenient as a master key really appear that easily? Might smiles a little because right now he has all the time in the world. He could either join her or just ignore her. The choice is his to make. Well, Might opens up with a disclaimer. He's not sure if he can open it, okay? But that was more than enough for Listy. She tells him that if he can open the chest, then she'll give him a share. What's more, he's free to decide his share too. He didn't say anything, but he did start to worry since this girl is a little too trusting and naive about the world. The two of them leave Fortune, and just outside the premises, the other two stood near the forest with the chest between them. The paladin girl thanks Might for going all the way here while also apologizing for troubling him as well. Now that they're all here, Listy introduces herself as a level 3 swordsman, while the smallest girl, Nanase, is a pharmacist. Finally, there's Platina, who confidently tells him that people call her Platina the Silver Flash whenever they talk about her. Might only ask if that Silver Flash thing is a nickname. Still, having a nickname within the Beginner's Guild is quite a feat, with a hint of sarcasm in his tone. That's when Nanas chimed in and revealed that Platina's nickname is self-proclaimed. But Platina is a living, breathing example of a Delulu, proclaiming how that's what people call her in her heart. Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night. Nanase turns to Might, asking if he's a mage because of his getup. Might's a little happy that he looks like his occupation as he shows them his adventurer's card. He introduces himself and says he's just a level 1 sage. Seeing his card, the girls deduce that he must have been registering at the guild earlier then. Huh? Well, in that case, the girls whip out their respective adventurer cards and start posing flashily, saying that makes Might their junior. Might only stare back, but in his mind he finds their actions pretty corny because it practically screams beginner behavior all this time. Self-proclaimed nicknames and dramatic stance? They're really more of a rookie than him. Now that the introductions are done, Listy asks for Might's key to test it out. He stops her right there, saying he'll be the one to do it since he's not really sure how it will turn out. Plus, he's used to traps, so he's pretty sure he can avoid them. Listy relinquishes the chest to him, but she didn't know sages are pretty good with their hands, too. Wait a minute, Nanas had to ask him first if it's true that he happened to find the key to the treasure chest. Might replies that he never picked it up, but she cuts him off, saying that it's a little too suspicious, narrowing her eyes at him as she says so. Cut to the next scene, we see Nanas, who is just a hair's breadth away from leaning over Might with how close she is. The latter had to tell her to back up a bit, which she did so shyly, saying she had to get close because she couldn't see properly. Now that she said it, Might remembers how Sheska also used to use magic to improve her vision. The latter claims she has poor eyesight because she reads too much. But back to this magic stuff. Might wonders if he can use that as a sage. No, can he even manage to learn magic properly in the first place? Seeing how he was so deep in thought, Nanas thought Might was thinking badly of her based on his reactions. And she doesn't stink. She took a bath yesterday, although at the mention of a bath, Platina says she could also use the big bath if time permits. A sentiment Listy also shares since getting into baths makes one feel alive, no? The girls were already imagining their bathing time, and Might had to shake his head. Even in this life, it looks like the ladies have it hard with their bath time too. But Listy snaps back to reality quickly, remembering how there are monsters nearby so they shouldn't be dilly-dallying too much. With that, she asks if Might is ready. Might stares at the lock, wondering if he could do that thing again. When suddenly, he sees it. The lock is glowing. Meanwhile, the other three stare at him in anticipation, which only means that he's the only one who can see the lock glowing. Out of thin air, thin strands of light start to appear before becoming a key right in his hand. This time, all three girls stand behind him giddily, amazed at what just happened. Platina couldn't believe it. Might made the key exist with magic. It's something even Nanase hasn't heard of before. Our hero checks the chest first, and when he sees that there are no traps, he tells the girls that he's opening it. The key was a perfect fit, as we would expect from him, with the girls wowed again at what he just did. But as soon as it was unlocked, the key disintegrated from Might's hand. Our hero stares at his hand as he feels a little fatigue. Could this be caused by the magic he just did? Still, this is his first win. As it turns out, the magic is in the key, and it's the first spell he ever cast as a sage. Listy leans over and calls out to him, reminding him to open the chest. He does so with the girls leaning over, mouths hanging open at what they're seeing. While they were busy with the locks somewhere in the skies, or maybe somewhere in the space between life and death, the goddess Lunalith had been watching them all this time. She's a little surprised when suddenly she hears someone commenting about how it's surprising to see a level 3 human talk to a hero without hesitation. Lunalith turns in the direction of the voice as the other girl calls out to the former as her big sister. It's Lady Iris. Lunalith asks if her little sister is the one behind this. Per all, it's her follower who spoke to Might first. Iris tells her that she was just watching the hero Farina. And speaking of Farina, the younger goddess asks Lunalith if she wants to see how Farina is doing after she has returned. Lunalith turns her down, saying it's not her jurisdiction. Just then, Iris's eyes narrow as she asks Lunalith why she picked the thief. What's more, Lunalith even allowed something as unreasonable as changing occupation, but the former cut her off. The older goddess points out that she alone does not have the power to change the natural order and that this world allowed it. Iris replies then, hoping her older sister's feelings do not go against the will of the Lord, turning away as she said so. Lunalith follows her, asking Iris if she informed Farina and the others about Might's decision. Iris opens a portal and leaves, so it's only Lunalith in that space again. She turns to see Might and the three other girls acting all giddy over the chest. She mutters about how he was able to open a chest that local adventurers couldn't open with that key. As Lunalith suspected, Might did not simply return to level 1. We don't know because the author decided to cut Lunalith's sentence just like that. To say that the girls were in awe at the open chest before them is an understatement. They didn't expect it to be full of gold coins and other valuables. As Listy takes a small bag to inspect, she starts addressing Might with more respect, amazed at the treasure inside the chest. Platina, on the other hand, deemed it only right for her to address him as Lord Might, but Nanase points out that it makes the former a shallow opportunist. In any case, Nanase is really happy because this means no more leaf soup for them, right? As soon as she said that out loud, Listy clarified that they're not poor for fear that Might may think they're broke or something. Well, they look kinda broke already, so there's no need to hide that stuff. Might already know from the get-go that this trio is having a hard time in the job market. Platina falls to her knees. Even hearing the cold hard truth spoken aloud can hurt this much, huh? Now that he thought about it, Might has the right to decide how the share is divided, right? Isn't that what Listy said earlier? At the mention of her name, it was Platina who lamented dramatically, saying, Might can do whatever he feels like. Even if her body yields, her heart won't be corrupted. Nanase panics at the tone Platina is suggesting. Is this what they've come to now? Might had to shut her up, saying it's not like that at all. Listy panics but tries to low-key backtrack on what she said, suggesting maybe he can take half of the treasure. But Might is already rummaging through the chest and fetches 3 silver coins. He tells them that his cut is 1 per person, which equates to those 3 coins in his hand. Huh? The trio only stares back at him, so Might explains. He's been asking around the guild about rates. For freelance lockpicking jobs, the maximum cut is supposedly 30%, but to be fair, this is his first job, so he won't be charging much. Might is so much better than me because I would have hauled all arm anyway. He apologizes for startling them earlier. Meanwhile, Listy and Platina couldn't believe that he'd take such a small cut. Was that too cool of him? Might wonder if he did too much. Teaching someone younger isn't really his forte after all, and leaving them be means they'll get fooled immediately. Platina is the first to speak, clearing her throat as she asks if that's all he really needs. She feels upset because if that's only how much their chastity is worth, so Might had to cut her off, saying it's not like that. What's with this girl and paying with her body? They were still in the middle of a conversation when Might suddenly felt a presence behind them. A group of goblins emerges from the forest and approaches them steadily. Listy's not surprised that they showed up, although Nanase's a bit shaken. The latter points out how the goblins are also carrying weapons like bows and swords, and how there's a big one among them. Platina was the first to rise to the occasion, happily claiming that she'll protect them and show them the defense of the Silver Flash. Upon hearing that, Might deduced that this paladin is the defensive type. Listy rushes over to Platina's side, telling Might that he should escape while they handle this. If anything, he's surprised that they're pretty brave considering all of them are beginners. Meanwhile, Nanes checks her potions, finding one that's right for the occasion, but all she could find was the opposite, a potion that makes you horny. Might asks her if she has any potion that works on enemies, which she affirms. This time she asks him why he's so calm. Isn't he too collected for a level 1 sage? Might counters her, saying that it's not true at all and that he's nervous since it's his first battle. It's true though, he's still a level 1. He's a spellcaster sage who's unable to use magic. By normal standards, this means he'd be pretty useless in a fight, and yet he thinks they won't lose. If anything, he thinks this is fate, as he plans to have these three experience their first success. Platina calls out to the goblins, taunting them with her sword and shield as the enemies rush straight to her. To Might's surprise, Platina blocks them off confidently, saying this is the reason why she can't stop training her body. Meanwhile, Listy uses this chance to cut down the goblins. Might's pretty sure that the one from earlier was a noble's bodyguard, so wasn't that the skill called Substitute from the Royal Order? It's a different skill from the Paladin's special ability, from what he remembers. One of the goblins gets pushed back near the larger one, the hobgoblin one, as the latter lets out a battle cry. Might warns the others since the big one's coming, but Platina's more than ready to take on everything. Again with the innuendos. Nanase can't help but tell her off a bit, but Might just accepted that Platina's really just like that, with no sense of urgency at all. The hobgoblin drives his fist to Platina's shield, just as Might deems this the opportune moment. With light feet, he rushes over to Platina's side and taps the lower end of her shield, right before the hobgoblin's fist connects to her shield. Platina holds her ground, bracing for the force that comes with the punch, but there is nothing. The hobgoblin's rain punches on her shield, but Platina remains unmoved, not knowing Might has been supporting her from below. A second more, and Platina finds it strange how she's not experiencing any feedback at all. She shoves back, instantly causing the hobgoblin to fall flat on his back. The creature tries to get up, his fist all sore from the punching, just as Platina finally realizes Might was right there all along. The question is, just what was he doing? Instead of answering, Might looks away before explaining that this is also a type of sage magic. Platina, being the airhead that she is, easily accepts the excuse and fully believes that it's sage magic. As they stood still, something launched from behind them and landed straight in front of the goblins. Suddenly they all break into laughter thanks to Nanase's doing. Ha, how'd they like her hidden weapon? A pepper bomb. Might she also add that it's a pretty valuable item to boot? But the goblins only held their laughter back a little before breaking out into a new fit. That was not the effect she was going for at all. Listy orders them to stop laughing, catching the goblins by surprise. She tells them that they're also fighting desperately, so it's not polite to laugh at the occasion. The goblins instantly became glum, leaving Might surprised again. Of all places, do people really use techniques like that here? There's no mistaking it. What she just did is a technique called elegance, and it can only be used by those of noble status. This technique lowers the hostility of opponents below the user's level, but it didn't work on the big guy at all. The hobgoblin motions for the archers to fire, which they do, aiming at the unguarded Listy and Nanase. But Might was faster, catching both arrows with his fingers before firing them back at them. It struck both archer goblins down much faster than the girls could realize what had just happened. Listy wonders if this too is part of Might's magic. Just then she calls out for Might to watch out as the hobgoblin has both of its fists raised ready to smash him to the ground. But Might was ready and fished the silver coins out of his pocket and flicked them straight to the hobgoblin's head. Big as he may be, the hobgoblin was no match for Might as it collapses unconscious to the ground, right in front of our hero. Might exudes an aura, intimidating the other goblins as he wonders if he should keep at it. But their opponents got the message. Fearful of what might happen to them, they dragged the hobgoblin away as they made their escape back to the woods. Might stood to see their retreating backs further until he realized what he just did. There's no way in hell a sage would fight like that, as he panics over what to explain. Just then, Listy calls out to him, beaming at how amazing he was. You mean he was that strong all along? Might is speechless. Meanwhile, Listy's already at it, asking what kind of magic he used to defeat the hobgoblin. It was way too fast for her to see, to which our hero simply said he used coin toss. Listy exchanges looks with Nanase, a little doubtful that a type of magic like that exists. But maybe it's possible if the coin is infused with magic, no? In his mind, Might wants to tell them that it's just a physical ability, but he didn't bother correcting them anyway. He stares at his hand, thinking about how he thought he'd get weaker since he went back to level 1. It's only natural to think that way since he couldn't use any of the thief skills anymore either. However, judging from the battle just now, it seems that his physical abilities are still the same. Platina's downright surprised at what Might did. It just goes to show you really shouldn't judge people by their level, no? Speaking of Platina, Nanase reminded the former of her proclamation earlier, saying she'd protect them. Again, Platina collapses on her knees, embarrassed at her unfulfilled proclamation. But in her defense, it's by feeling embarrassed that people can grow stronger, you know? Listy had to tell her to tone it down with that approach. Unlike Platina, Listy fully admits how she was pretty useless earlier too, which only means she has to train harder with her sword. Might finally speaks and tells them that Listy's attack power is more than enough. Furthermore, he thinks they can win as long as their opponent is not a hard hitter. You know, one that hits hard with a single blow like a hobgoblin. As for Platina, Might says she did a great job of drawing the enemy's attention. He also finds it impressive how Nanase dared to act back there despite the situation. Wait, crap, it's like he's evaluating them. He feels a little embarrassed at what he did and turns away. There are just some old habits that are hard to break. He remembers in the past how he got addicted to keeping track of his friends' abilities since they needed it to survive and defeat the demon dragon. He remembers how Farina thanks him for looking out for them, and in Sheska's eyes, this magic of his is pretty useful as well. Enju adds that Might's advice is helpful since it points out all her blind spots. Although they have nothing but good things to say about him, in his mind he could only see himself as a powerless thief who's acting high and mighty. Well, to not let things get any more awkward than they already are, Might bids them farewell without looking at them. At that, Listy reaches out, causing Might to finally look at them. All three girls were wearing the same sad look, but what's more peculiar about that is the locks on their chests. As it turns out, Might has finally activated a passive skill, Lock Eye. This skill lets him visualize the lock possessed by living and non-living things as long as conditions are met. Along with Lock Eye, he also has a special skill called White Key. For this skill, it generates a magical key that unlocks the white lock. Might hears all of these explanations in his mind, and just now his instincts started to act up. It's the divine knowledge bestowed upon the sage. Looking at the locks in their chest, it made him realize that the lock was part of his magic after all. Meanwhile, Listy closes the distance between them and takes his hand in hers. She smiles, saying that there was no need for him to run away like that. Besides, he's the one who did the most during the fight. Platina chimes in, saying she was the one who got protected and thanking Might for it. Nanase also quips that since he already threw his coins away, he'll need more, right? With all that said, the girls suggest they continue this conversation back in town. The question is, will Might come with them? Well, as long as they're not suspicious, Might thinks it'll be fine for now, as he lets himself be led by Listy and the others. This must be fate, so he thinks it won't be so bad if he hangs out with them a little longer, right? Might and the girl trio return to the guild to have the items the goblins dropped from their recent battle assessed. To their shock, it amounted to 42 silver coins. Listy and the other two are stunned. It's obvious they weren't used to that amount. So the receptionist explained that the hobgoblin in question had been sighted nearby before, hence it had a pretty nice bounty on it. Nanase points out that they really had to subjugate it one way or another, huh? The receptionist explains that goblins are low-ranking monsters. If you can show them that you're stronger, then they'll just back off to their territory. Given what happened, she believes that the goblins should stay away from human settlements for a little while. This is quite the turn of events because Platina recalls how they couldn't even track down the bounty targets until now. The receptionist just giggled and was happy for them. At least thanks to this, they got a fourth member on their team. At that, the girls cast a sideward glance at Might as if gauging his reaction. But because he didn't say anything, they just told the receptionist that they had just asked him to help out. He hadn't formally joined their party yet. That was a bad move because little did they know there were quite a few adventurers who were eager to have them join their party. An older adventurer was the first to ask them to join, only to be held back by a younger woman. For sure, the trio would probably have more fun at an all-girls party than one full of guys, no? Of course, there's also the flashy type of adventurer saying that he also has his eye on them. Looking at how much the others are going gaga over Listy's group, it seems they're quite popular, huh? And from the looks of it, there might have been a competition for them in the past as well. Speaking of Listy, she holds her hand up and tells them that they're not planning to join any other parties. Plus, she also has something to talk about with him, motioning to Might as she says so. The other adventurers are visibly upset because who the heck is this guy? He's just a rookie mage. The proud adventurer from before is in disbelief because how could they team up with someone other than him? Okay, conceded much? When Listy only stared in reply, the proud adventurer in question, Brando Schweik, claimed that he was the strongest in Fortune City. There's absolutely no one who can be counted on more than him. He could already foresee it. Soon they'll have no choice but to depend on him. While he was going off about his monologue, Nanase moved closer to Might and urged him to quietly exit while everyone else was busy. Might understands the idea, but isn't she a little too close for comfort? Some of the adventurers noticed them slipping away. Heck, they even saw Nanase whispering close to Might's ear. How they wish they could experience that. Wow, such incels they've got here, huh? It was not lost on Might how these three girls are pretty popular. At this rate, they'll just stand out too much. This kind of attention will make things awkward, leaving him wondering what to do. Later that night, the four of them had dinner together at a local diner. But first, a toast to thank Might and commend him for a good job. Cheers! Our MC takes a bite of his food and is surprised at how good it tastes. He turns to Listy, noting how the chef here must be pretty skilled. She answers that's the exact reason why they're staying at the inn attached to this diner. But even if that's the case, Platine adds that lately they've been stuck with nothing but rock-hard bread. Do you know why? It's because they miscalculated a request. From what they heard, the cat-finding job was invalid just because it came back on its own. While she's going off about that, Listy chimes in that she didn't dislike the rock bread they had. Nanase leans close to Might again, noting how Listy lives by a motto of frugality, even though the latter is really beautiful and noble. At the mention of noble, Listy brushes it off. She's not like that at all. She's just a wandering adventurer. Yeah, as if her poised way of eating is proof of that. Might and Nanase only stare at her noble and elegant demeanor. Even Platina scoffs at the other's claim. Yeah, Listy is just as Listy says and Platina is the Silver Flash, no? Mite frowns at Platina because this isn't really the time to go around introducing self-proclaimed nicknames, you know? Anyway, he's curious about something. Were Listy and Platina already acquainted with each other? Listy tells him that he is correct. She and Platina came to Fortune City together, along with Nanas, who came here looking for a job. That very same day, Nanas added that they all registered as new members at the guild. While she's at it, she shares that she's a level 2 adventurer, while Listy and Platina are both level 3. Now that she thought about it, was it really normal for a level 1 sage to be incredibly strong, eyeing Mite suspiciously as she said so? Listy thinks Mite is just an exception, but she does wonder if a sage has other magical abilities as well. Mite puts his drink down and acts nonchalant. Maybe Listy is correct, or maybe it's because he's still level 1. But that question also made him wonder if something was wrong with him. He's still unsure about a lot of things, but what he knows he can reliably use is basically the key magic he used to open the chest earlier. Listy has a follow-up question. Was he referring to the unlock spell? Listy heard it's for when one party lacks a thief or scout who can pick locks, but based on her observations, wasn't Mite using something else too? Mite didn't answer. He was thinking about his skills. From divine knowledge, their names were Lock Eye and White Key. He can even see the lock on humans, so he doesn't think it's just a simple unlocking. Anyway, change of topic. Platina asks Mite how old he is. She's 18, Listy is 15, and Nanase is 14. Mite shows them his adventurer card, which lists him as 15. Well, the card information can't be tampered with. So they're all a bit surprised by this discovery, especially Listy, who can't believe she's the same age as him. If anything, having someone as strong as him in the same age group inspires Listy. She suggests they get along whenever they meet in town, which he agrees to. Nanase, on the other hand, is concerned because if she keeps indulging like this, then she might go soft soon. Listy just suggested they eat properly and prepare. While the trio continued chatting, Mite quietly returned to sipping his drink. This apple ale he's having is basically just juice. But it's really good. He used to not have the luxury of drinking because ever since he teamed up with Farina and the others, he'd occasionally eat in town too. The mere memory of that made him wonder what those three are doing now. Their dinner continued on for a little while more, Mite quietly sipping his drink and minding his own business until a tipsy Listy looks over with a frown. Was he even listening to what she said? He was startled but did his best to agree with what she said, sympathizing with her. Just then, Platina leans closer as she notices that he hasn't been drinking since earlier. Nanase tells the latter to be careful or else it might start spilling, but Platina assures her that she's not drunk. Mite, being the only responsible adult despite his current appearance, ordered water for their table. As the waitress handed them the water, she asked if he had decided to join Listy's party. Oh, actually, he clarified that he just cooperated with them earlier. His answer made the trio frown, disappointed with what he had to say. He felt their gaze on him, so he turned to them questioningly, but Listy told him it was nothing. And then, given how he's the only guy in the group, he's the one who carried a drunk Platina over his shoulder like a sack. Listy can't help but comment on how he's pretty strong for a magic user, but to him, this is no problem at all. Nanasa's concern is the way he's carrying her. From her point of view, it looks like Mite is kidnapping her. He didn't expect that. To be fair, he thought he was just carrying her normally. Anyway, he asks them where their room is. As Listy pointed out that theirs is the third door at the end, they noticed that the door was ajar and sounds were coming from the inside. There's a thief. They're being robbed. Mite hurriedly shoves Platina to Listy as he goes ahead and checks the room. But by the time he got there, the thieves were gone. He looks over the balcony and sees three men running away with Listy and the girl's belongings, so Mite quietly pursues them. They're thieves all right, and they're using some sort of special skill. But if it's only that much, then Mite can match their tempo. The thieves exit the city and head to their cabin just outside town. As soon as they reached their quarters, they relaxed. Adventurers really are easy targets when it comes to these things. One of them notes how the girls have pretty valuable gear by just one look. The first dude relays that a courier will come disguised as a merchant tomorrow. He suggests they just use him to fence it outside of town so they don't get caught. Now then, time to check their loot. One of the thieves was just about to open the goblin chest when suddenly, something cut their lamp and instantly bathed the house in darkness. Panicked, they wonder aloud if the guard noticed them, but to their shock, an unfamiliar voice replied, "Would it have been better if the guards were the ones who noticed then?" It was Mite. Where did this guy come from? Is he also a thief? One of the guys gave a heads up to his colleagues before throwing a flash bomb as they quickly escaped. They ran quickly outside, loot bags in tow, while one of them mentioned a boss Mabel. It made the other guy wonder if they'd been noticed, but the presumed leader warned the other not to mention their boss's name. If their boss hears about this, it won't be good. For now, it's better to just lure the intruder to the trap. No sooner had he said this than all three of them fell into the very trap they were just talking about. What the hell? Why are there traps here? Of course, courtesy of Mite once again. He was already there telling the thieves how traps like that can be used against them if they are discovered. Simply put, these guys were pretty sloppy. One of them kicks up a fuss, but he can't exactly do anything while hanging upside down, can he? At least the other one yielded, and this one is the one Might approached. He tells them to return the stolen goods by tonight. Huh? Is it really okay for them to simply return the goods? He'll just let them go like that? On the contrary, he's not letting them go. From now on, Might wants them to assume that he's always watching them, so if they do anything reckless, well, let's just leave that to the imagination. He threatens the thieves, reminding them that they're in the same line of work, which is enough to get them spooked. With that, he cut their ropes and they all made a beeline back to town to return the stolen goods. As soon as they're gone, Might relaxes. It's a good thing they let something slip, no? At least he found out that Manel wasn't connected to that theft. But instead of going back to the inn, he went to the town well and descended. As he reached the bottom, he found a door and unlocked it using his spell magic. He made several turns until finally he reached a certain door. Looking at it, it made him think how it would have been impossible to open it without a duplicate key. But now he has some sort of conjuring magic, and all this work just made him look more like a keymaster than a sage. As soon as he opened the door, a certain kind of smell welcomed him. Inside, a certain lady had just finished bathing. She was drying herself up, muttering about how she's glad she got that water-heating magic tool. And that's when she saw Might standing right there. Still in her birthday suit, she quickly grabs a blade hanging on the wall ready to take down the intruder. Might, on the other hand, becomes defensive, telling her to wait. But she won't, as she keeps on trying to cut him down. She gives him a hard kick, which Might blocked with his arm, as he finally calls her name and tells her that it's him. It's Crow. Upon hearing that name, the image of a younger Might reflected in her eyes, prompting her to stop. Is it really him? They held each other's gaze for a moment until Mabel broke the silence. She stares wide-eyed at Crow because is this kid really Might? The latter picks the towel up from the floor and hands it to her as he looks away. He apologizes, given how he's someone who left the Thieves Guild once. Be that as it may, he wants to talk to her, which explains why he let himself in through the back. Mabel snatched the towel from his hand, a little wary. Looking at Might, he looks a lot like how he did when he left 10 years ago. But more importantly, what's up with the outfit he's wearing? It's like a magician's outfit. As far as she remembers, Might is a thief. At that, Might tells her that he has gotten much younger and he's no longer a thief. Just look, he was actually able to become a sage. Unlike before, he's got magical power now. Mabel couldn't believe it, it's impossible. Unless it's a miracle from the goddess. Wait a minute, she remembers something. Flashback to when they were much younger. Mabel is upset. She can't believe Might actually believes in the prophecy. Plus, did he really think he could defeat the demon dragon with no magic? That's just a death sentence for him. Might was just about to walk out the door when he looked Mabel dead in the eye, replying that he was still going. And that was the last time the two saw each other until today. Looking at him who looks so much younger now, Mabel breaks into a smile. She taps his shoulder. Of course she believes him. He's her little brother after all. After changing her clothes, the two resume their conversation. But first, she apologizes for forgetting about how he was worried about not having any mana back then. She hates how cold-hearted she can be sometimes. He disagrees. If anything, Might is the one who feels bad for bothering her at this hour. Well, that's true. Mabel never raised him to be the type of man who goes sneaking into the guildmaster's room. They exchanged smiles, and it pleased him to know that she succeeded the old man and became the guildmaster. Now that he remembers, he's curious what happened to Gazelle and Ake. According to Mabel, those two became executives 3 years ago. They're currently out of the city carrying out a spy mission which explains their absence. Oh, so those two have risen in ranks and become executives, huh? And they're out on a noble's request. No, Might shakes his head. He's not a part of the Thieves Guild anymore, so he shouldn't stick his nose where it doesn't belong. Anyway, he remembers the reason why he got here in the first place. He informs Mabel that some guild members here stole from the people he's acquainted with. Obviously, he already caught them and made them return what they stole, but he's worried that something like this will happen again in the future. Mabel let out an exasperated sigh before her eyes became sharp, muttering about how those who tarnish their name must be purged. Might stops her right there. He doesn't want her to go that far. His only concern is that if the people he knows keep being targeted, only then will they have a real problem. After all, there are other ways for a thief to earn money, right? Alright. For now, Mabel promises to ensure that her members are kept in line. If the city guard finds out, the Thieves Guild will face penalties after all. That's more like it. Might smiles and thanks her. If there's anything he can do, she should just give him a heads up, but to his surprise, she walks up to him and caresses his cheek. Mabel looks at him intently for a moment, before saying how she didn't think he would come back. She even remembers him saying that it's fine if he died along the way. But knowing him, Might didn't give up at all, did he? To that, he replies that it's because he was blessed with good companions. If it were just him, then he wouldn't have been able to move forward at all. She asks if that group of his has already disbanded, to which he replies that they haven't. But right now, that seems to be the case. In his mind, Farina and the other two must probably think he's already dead. Plus, they all have something to do in their respective hometowns. Sensing his anxiety, Mabel pats his shoulder. If he's alive, then he'll surely meet them again someday. As soon as she said that, Might saw it. The lock in Mabel's chest. That thing wasn't visible earlier, was it? Apparently he stared at her chest too long, so Mabel started looking at him with narrowed eyes. Might easily change the subject, saying that he can hardly use magic. Just because he became the sage doesn't mean he's already used to it. If it's studying magic he wants, Mabel suggests reading a spellbook. Frankly speaking, she wouldn't recommend the Magic Guild given the circumstances, as she trails off. But that's it, a book. He didn't realize it in all the chaos. His big sister Mabel really saved him, huh? Upon hearing that, Mabel suddenly remembers a much younger Might, and she can't help but break into a smile. Might really hasn't changed, has he? The lock on her chest opened right then and there. Eh? But he didn't even summon a key, so what triggered this? Anyway, she tells him to leave a message at the upper office to reach her next time, opens the door and motions for him to leave. He promises to do just that, but before he exits, Mabel tells him that it's fine if he comes at night. Something like earlier could happen again after all. With that, she tells him to be careful, waving him goodbye. Might puts his hood up and gives her a little nod before running back to where he came from. Back at the inn, Might sees Listy asleep standing outside the door. He kneels right next to her and asks if the stolen items were returned. Listy stirs upon hearing his voice, mumbling about an important ring and something about Platina. At least she still managed to muster a thank you to him. Might is pleased to hear that, and not a moment later the door opens. It's Platina. She asks if Listy is asleep, then remembers her behavior just a few hours ago. She can't help but feel ashamed at how she got carried away because of the alcohol. He's not too bothered by that. What's done is done. More importantly, she asks if he could carry Listy back to the room, and Platina nods. As Might was about to pick her up, he was reminded of their comment earlier of him carrying Platina like he was kidnapping her. This time Might does a lover's carry and quietly puts Listy to bed, then tucks her in. As he was about to exit their room, Platina thanked him, promising to repay this favor. He tells her it's fine, waving, and he'll see her again sometime soon. Finally, he's settled in his room. As he lay in bed that night, Might realized that it had been a while since he was alone in a cheap inn. It got him thinking about a lot of things. For one, he was supposed to die after defeating the demon dragon. He didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Tomorrow he'll buy a magical device and try it out. Plus, finding a magic tome is important too, since he also wants to try using regular magic. Wait a minute, he just remembered something. Didn't he repel the hobgoblins earlier? By the time he wakes up, he might have leveled up. If he levels up, then maybe he'll be able to use new magic, no? Ooh, just thinking about that got him so excited for tomorrow to come. Meanwhile, back at the Thieves Guild, Mabel is busy pondering her meeting with Might. Even though he's a magic user now, she can't believe that he's much stronger than her, even with his bare hands. Word hasn't reached this far yet about whether he and his previous company really did defeat the demon dragon. Even as a thief, Might trained himself to the limit, and he saved the world. He really did become a true hero, no? She wasn't planning on forgiving him, but she couldn't believe he won her over so easily. There was a sudden knock on her door, pulling her out of her thoughts. Someone's at the door, informing her that 3 of the guild's junior members reported in. Instead of dragging the conversation, she tells him to cut to the chase. So he tells him what she already knew, that the guys went and stole something. But from the looks of it, the guards haven't noticed yet. What should they do? Mabel is aware of that, but the stolen items were returned, right? For now, he suggests they keep an eye on things for now. She stressed making sure to tell them to follow their direct superior's orders. The man outside expected no less of the guildmaster. She was already aware of what had happened just now. She's not really into flattery, so she sends him away. Once she's alone, Mabel notices the expression on her face. Just what kind of expression is this she's wearing? The next day, Might is already up and about. It's been a while since he got too excited to sleep. Too bad his level didn't go up though. Yesterday he tried to look cool and cut his share too, but the reality is that he needs to find work and earn some money first. As soon as he walked into the guild, the receptionist greeted him, commending him for a job well done on his first mission. To that he tells her that he just happened to pass by and cooperated with them. The receptionist thinks otherwise though and motions for him to look toward the bulletin. There they are. Listy and the other 2 are sneakily throwing glances at him, then feigning to act. Like, look at this quest, it says plant monsters have appeared in the field and Platina is on board. It's a wide area monster subjugation mission. Nanase points out that they need 4 or more people though, and there aren't many people who could be recruited. Might and the receptionist know what they're doing, they just exchange smiles. Might approached them, saying the 3 of them can easily get together. Listy greets him with a good morning first, a little embarrassed about what happened yesterday. Even Platina chimes in on how she acted like a pathetic paladin yesterday. Nanase thanks him for helping out yesterday, but she feels like asking for help with today's quest might seem a bit too presumptuous. Might holds his hand up, saying even he couldn't take on any work alone either, so if they need one more joiner, then he'd be happy to accompany them. Nanase had to ask if he was really sure. While watching the 3 of them is kind of nerve-wracking, plus as a level 1 he feels vulnerable as well. In his mind, he managed to show his face at the Thieves Guild without a problem, so it should be fine even if he stands out a little. Thankfully, the girls bought his reasoning. Platina, for one, is happy because no matter how strong he is, he's still a level 1 sage. This just reinforces her idea that she will be the one protecting him. Nanase also has something new up her sleeve. She made a new potion using the slime they collected yesterday, so she'd really like Mite to see how effective it is. Listy tells her friends that if they get that excited, it'll look like they were waiting for Mite. Mite himself tells them that he can't use normal magic yet, but he'll give it everything he's got. With that, he extends his hand and asks to join their party. Listy extends her hand in return. Listy answers that they're the ones who should be saying that. As soon as she did, he saw the girls' respective locks appear on their chests. He hears his instinct speaking in his head, saying one lock I is released. Along with that, it also says that seal release I can be used with the bond limit unlocked. Seeing how he looked frozen, Listy asks if something was the matter. Mike quickly tells her that it's nothing, but he is curious why Nanase's lock is still intact. Maybe it depends on whether she's willing to open her heart, no? Anyway, Listy asks him what he thinks. Should they go with this quest for 4 or more? Mite agrees with her decision, while the rest of the adventurers from yesterday are pulling a face. They can't believe Mite really went ahead and officially joined Listy's party. What they find most unacceptable is the harem. 3 girls and a young man together like that? Just what the hell is up with that? These guys are obviously jealous of Mite. Listy and the others don't care, they proceed to head to the location of the quest. Now that they're a 4-person party, she thinks naming the party would be a good idea to mark the occasion. Platina is the first to go, since this is the part that Silver Flash is a part of, then shouldn't they be called the Flash Squad? Yeah, that's a no. Nanase has an idea. What about including Moon in it, since the moon was really beautiful last night? From the back, Mite mutters Moon Party, but Listy feels it's still missing something. At that, Platina suggests Moonlight Party. Listy and Nanase quickly agree, with the latter adding that introducing themselves might be awkward at first. Naming the party reminds Mite of the time Farina and the others were also thinking of what to name their party. It was Farina who suggested they go with the Holy Seal Silver Sword, and back then he felt embarrassed to call themselves that. Even the other 2 were not as keen on naming their party, but what else could they do? It's required as part of the guild procedures. This memory makes him smile, and then he hears them call him. When he looks up, all 3 girls have their hands joined together, waiting for him. Well, until the time he can meet Farina and the others again, he'll just start over with these 3 girls. And with that, the Moonlight Party is formed. The Moonlight Party soon reaches a peaceful farming village. It was so peaceful that Platina doubted if monsters even showed up there. But Listy confirms that they're at the right place. It says so in the request form. Mike clarifies if they were talking about plant monsters, because if so, it's better to stay alert. Anyway, he suggests they go meet the client first. As they continued walking, the girls were suddenly roped high in the air by plant tentacles. There was a lot of screaming and squealing, even Platina couldn't do anything with her heavy armor. More importantly, just where the hell are these vines slipping into? Listy continues to squirm and fight off the tentacles with futile efforts. On the other hand, Nanase's already weakened. The plants are draining her energy. Platina tried cutting the vines off with her knife, but it was of no use. For something made of straw, these vines are so tough, huh? As the only one not caught up in the trap, Mite remains standing on the ground, assessing the situation. It's a bit hard for him to hit, but he accurately flicks his coin, cutting off the vines that held the girls up quickly. He catches Listy while Platina caught Nanase before she fell to the ground. From there, he tells her to pull back and the vines are left squiggling there. There's no follow-up attack. The girls approach the wilted vines. Is this really a plant monster? Looking at it, Platina says it looks like she has seen something like this before. But wait, these are turnip leaves. Nanase asks if they're considered an erotic vegetable. But you know what? If Nanase makes a potion from these leaves, it might restore the energy that was drained. Okay, that's a hard pass for Listy. Mite is just as troubled, wondering if he needs to drink that potion too. So it's less a plant monster and more a vegetable monster then? Listy is a little skeptical if something like that can really happen. The monster did have incredible strength and toughness, you know? If it weren't for Mite's coins, then they would have been in real trouble. Speaking of coins, Mite has no trouble using coins as weapons, but it's a bit harder to use since these items are weapons that don't suit a sage. From a distance, they hear somebody call out to them asking if they're adventurers. It's the client. It looks like the order got switched, but Mite suggests they hear what the client has to say first. The Moonlight Party is led to the client's home. There, the client welcomes and thanks them for coming. Her name is Allie Miller, and the younger woman right beside her is her daughter Marino. Listy introduces themselves as the Moonlight Party, listing her Platina, Nanase, and Mite. Allie begins by relaying how their family has been farmers for generations. However, recently some plants have been mutating and attacking them. Her father was the first victim of the monster attacks. He got injured protecting her. From that alone, Listy deduced that the monsters are going after women, Quite an outrageous turn-up. Marino turns to her mother worriedly. She knew they were turnips. Ally grows even more distressed about their vegetables while Listy and the others exchange looks. Listy proceeds to ask if they have any idea why the vegetables are turning into monsters. Ally ponders for a bit before saying she does. You see, they give thanks for the blessings of the land. They've been performing a ritual to honor the land spirits every year. But the thing is, for some time now the land hasn't been satisfied, and she fears that they may have angered them. But earth spirits? Platina is not too familiar with them. Nanase fills her in, explaining that they sometimes enrich the land. However, they could also cause harm once angered. If that's the case, Might says they only have two options. Either they defeat the Earth spirits or try to negotiate. Listy tells Allie and Marino that the turnip monster was tough enough. So, if they prefer, they can resolve this through negotiation. Now she asks if they have any idea what went wrong with the ritual. Ally says they don't have enough people, and hesitantly she adds that the land spirits have certain tastes. If that's the case, Platina asks if there would be any problem if they did the ritual in their place. Allie is quick to jump on her offer, too quick, taking Platina's hand with gratitude. Alright then, they'll prepare the clothes for the ritual. Listy asks what kind of ritual it is, but Marino doesn't answer directly. Instead, she reassures them that they'll take care of everything here. So, the girls are whisked away to another room while Might is left by himself. From where he's sitting, he could hear them kick a fuss about how bad the clothes were. He could also hear Allie and Marino assure them that it's fine while he's just out here chilling. Now that he thinks about it, the monsters haven't appeared at all since then. Do they turn into monsters and attack when humans get close by? Still, he finds it hard to believe that they'll actually target women first. Finally, Allie returns and thanks him for waiting. However, it's just her. Might looks around asking what happened to his three companions, and their client informs him that they requested that they travel to the ritual site by carriage. Ally says she and her daughter will be the ones driving the carriage and asks Might if he could also ride up in the driver's seat with them. At that, Might becomes suspicious. He asks if something is wrong. Ally assures him that everything is fine, and as if on cue he hears clattering from the outside. There's Platina, shouting about how her chronic whatever it is acting up so she can't move. Another chimes in, probably Nanase, urging Allie and Marino to head out first. They'll handle this. Of course there's Platina, complaining about how she's not used to wearing such impractical clothes. Then there's Listy telling everybody to calm down. Besides, didn't they promise to always stick together, the three of them? Nanase takes offense at that because did Listy really have to bring that up right now? This just makes her sound like she's cold-hearted. The girls are now bickering, and even Allie is worried because does this mean their request is cancelled? With their client worrying, Might tries to step up. He knocks and asks if everyone can make it. Listy is quick to ask him to wait. Suddenly, the girls are all in agreement, with Nanase needing a moment to collect herself. Platina thinks it shouldn't be a problem if Might sees them like this, right? He's a sage after all. Just what is going on? True, his profession is sage, but he's not the enlightened kind of sage. Anyway, they just did as the girls requested. Might is up front at the driver's seat while Listy and the other two quietly slip in the back with a cloak covering their garments. They quietly rode to the area where the ritual takes place. Soon enough, they reach it, with Allie explaining that this is the altar where the land spirits are honored.
Is that a tombstone?
Still, it's pretty old. They get off the carriage where he asks Marino what they do in the ritual to honor the land spirits. Instead of answering, the latter hands him a drum. All he needs to do is keep a simple rhythm. Anyway, Marino says they play music and the women perform a dance in front of the altar wearing ritual attire. With that, she shows him a bikini-looking attire. Huh, that's the whole outfit? The mother-daughter duo becomes defensive, with Marino saying her grandfather said the land spirits like these kinds of outfits. From the back, Listy's horrifying voice can be heard, calling out to both Allie and Marino. Didn't they tell her earlier that they'd show her the example first? The two turn to her, horrified, and become a stuttering mess as they can only apologize. Although Listy is smiling, there's something scary about her since she's actually using her elegance on them. With a strained smile, Listy tells them off, thinking that they should leave the whole ritual to them while they get normal clothes, no? The mother and daughter scream, frightened by Listy. Might not be able to believe she's using her special skills on them. Suddenly, he hears a voice. The voice says the man, Might, is not needed, but the owner of the voice says they will surely enjoy this. This made Might turn to the altar and look at it warily. Might sits right outside the platform with his drum. Meanwhile, the girls are still hesitant to do the ritual. Nana asks if she really has to take her jacket off. Platina says that since it has already come to this, then they might as well just have to be prepared. Listy asks Might not to look over where they are too much. At the mention of his name, he turns slightly to their direction, asking if they're ready. What he saw made his eyes widen because the girls were wearing skimpy outfits. Ugh, Listy tries pulling her dress in an attempt to cover up. Why are the ritual outfits so small indeed? Platina answers that it's probably because the ritual was held during the hot season. At least Nana sees glad she brought insect repellent. Still, it doesn't take away the fact that their clothes are embarrassing. They're right because even Might can't help but also ask what those outfits are. Allie apologizes for asking something so unreasonable. Marino then asks if her mother really thought she could escape after coming this far. Even if she tries to escape, she'll be put into a cozy sleep by the fluffy assault of 100 sheep. Ally tells the girls that in the ritual to honor the earth spirit, they perform some music. During the ritual, women perform a dance before the altar, and the outfits they're wearing are for the ritual. Ally's job is a bard, so she'll focus on the music performance. Back when she was younger, she performed in theaters in bustling entertainment cities. Marino, on the other hand, is a shepherd, so she'll handle the flute part. As a shepherd, she normally herds sheep on the farm, obviously. Anyway, Ali tells Might that he'll handle the drum while the rest of the girls will handle the dancing. Just then, Listy grabs both of Ali's shoulders firmly, then leans close to her with a menacing smile. She reminds Ali that they came on a request to subdue a plant-type monster, but instead they've been roped into performing the ritual to pacify the Earth Spirit causing this. The Moonlight Party is supposed to be the one assisting the ritual, isn't it? With that said, the two of them who are familiar with the ritual need to take the initiative. They'll do it, right? Listy says so with such firmness that the mother-daughter duo had no choice but to agree. Ali and Marino take off their robes, with the older one hoping Might won't think it's strange for a woman of her age to do this. Upon removing their robes, Nanase does a double take of their rack. Like, whoa, she feels jealous and a bit insecure. This reminds him of his previous life, with Farina telling Sheska that hers are too big, even though most elves are known to be petite. Sheska points out that Farina's bosom isn't shrinking at all, despite her training. Of course, their automaton friend chimes in that her kind varies individually depending on their purpose, and this is the right size for her. Back to the present, Might thinks Nanase's is just the right size as well. As if she could read his mind, Nanase suddenly turns to him with judging eyes. What was he just thinking now, huh? Crap, if he said that, he'd probably end up as a test subject for potions. So he gives her a careful answer and tells her that it looks really good on her. Nanase suddenly perked up and became lively. So this kind of attire might actually suit her too, huh? Ali agrees and even tells her that she looks just like an angel, to which the latter clarifies that she's referring to an angel that has descended, right? Platina says each person's individuality is something to be cherished, at least that's what she thinks. Might will say. Anyway, Might asks them if they should begin now. The girls get into position at the altar. Ali starts plucking while Marino starts the flute, and Might sets the rhythm with the drums. The girls move in sync with the music while Might continues beating the drum. He can sense the presence of the place. The Earth Spirit is responding to the ritual. It's observing them. Lily, Platina, and Nanase sway to the rhythm while Ali and Marino play music. They move with intention, eyes closed as they ask the Earth Spirit to quell its fury. Then they bow all together as they ask the Spirit to grant them mercy once again. Suddenly, they finally hear the Spirit call out to them in reply. The Spirit tells them that if they seek to appease his fury, then from now on they should offer a dance at the altar 5 times a day. Might is careful, but did he hear that right? Was that a child's voice? Ali is the one who responds, agreeing that will stop the vegetables from turning into monsters. The Earth Spirit replies with another demand. He wants those 3 girls with them next time, given how a ritual isn't a ritual unless it's lively. Ali and Marino are stressed because that just means Listy and the others are forced to take part in the ritual and give up their lives as adventurers. There's just no way they could agree to those terms. The Spirit continues that he'll wait for their answer until tomorrow. If no reply is given, the ritual will lose its meaning. That concludes the ritual. As soon as they're done, Might approaches Ali. She's already downcast and understands that they're the ones who made the Earth Spirit angry. She also apologizes for causing trouble for everyone since she didn't expect the Earth Spirit to be this angry. If anything, she promises to pay the reward so they shouldn't worry about it. At that, he tells her that they haven't completed the request yet. He asks if the altar has an interior. Now that she thinks about it, her adoptive father was the one who cultivated this area. She remembers his warning that they must never dig beneath the altar because they would provoke the Earth Spirit's anger. Might taps the altar with his foot to check its hollowness below. So in other words, it might be that the Earth Spirit itself is below. Right? Ali believes that there's a possibility that the Earth Spirit is inside this hill. It might be a gamble, but he suggests they go inside and negotiate directly with the Earth Spirit. Ali and Marino aren't too keen on that idea, but might actually notice something. It's hidden, blended in among the altar's reliefs, and Nanase sees it. A keyhole. Well, they need a key or something, so Might asks if they know anything that's been passed down. Ali doesn't recall ever hearing about such a thing, and since they don't have the key, there's no way they can meet the Earth Spirit. It's just like that with the treasure chest. In his eyes, he can tell this is a keyhole that can be opened with Sage's skill, White Key. Still, since they're up against the Earth Spirit as the client, they should consider it well before they decide. Ali begs him then, saying how in the past nearby farmers were supposed to help with the ritual, but this awkward situation is all because of this embarrassing attire. Everyone's at their limit. Might turns to the 3 and they all smile, giving him a nod of their approval. Might does his thing and conjures a key out of thin air. The key looks more like a rod. Platina thinks it's probably a specially designed key. As soon as Might shoved it into the keyhole, the tombstone-like structure split in the middle, and the platform opened up, revealing a singular bollard in the middle. Misty can't believe there's such a complex entrance here, with Might asking if they can all manage. It's cool if he goes by himself, but of course the 3 of them are on board. Nanase says he shouldn't say something so cold. This is exactly the kind of moment that defines adventurers. Listy showed him that they had even brought their swords, while Platina had her shield. Might tells Ali and Marino that what's in front of them is probably a magic teleportation circle. He already came across something like this before in a book. Once they've teleported, Might warns the trio not to touch anything nearby. Ali and Marino bowed their heads, begging for help. They promise that they'll repay them for this. The Moonlight Party walks over to the magic teleportation circle with Might in the lead. He touches the bollard to see if it operates normally, and he puts his hand over the top. A shining light appeared and zapped them to a different dimension. Might managed to do a semi-superhero landing that lasted for a split second before Listy and the others came toppling on top of him. He kind of expected this would happen eventually when teleporting. Listy is listless because he is talking to whom? The girls tell him to close his eyes and not move. What else can he do in the position they're in anyway? Anyway, once they're all up, Might says it would have been better if all three of them had changed before coming. In Listy's defense, the outfits they're wearing might actually keep the Earth Spirit from getting angry. She has a point. But Might finds it so embarrassing by how easily he gets rattled now. Anyway, he just wants this kind of request done quickly so he can live up to being a sage. They walk along a dark corridor together, with Listy commenting on how big it is. Are ancient ruins usually this well preserved? Is this the area under that hill? Novice offers some light as she produces a light potion made from the extract of luminous moss. Now with the lighting, they were able to see the mural on the walls. There's the Earth Spirit's altar, and looks like they also included the ritual from before. They stare at it, with Listy asking if the figure in the center is the Earth Spirit. Novice points out that there are two figures, one big and one small. Might tells them to pay attention to their surroundings as well and watch out for traps or enemies. No sooner had he said that than Novice stepped on something. Suddenly, the wall started closing in on them. Platina tells them to run or else they'll be crushed. But Novice remains rooted where she is. Her clothes are stuck in the groove. Might runs to her while telling Listy and Platina to run ahead. He grabs her and carries her on his back as he makes a run for it with all his might. No pun intended. The walls are closing in quickly and their exit road is getting narrower. At this rate, Might realizes that they won't make it in time. With that, he powered up his step and instantly boosted his legs, catching both Listy and Platina in surprise. He grabs them both by their waists, boosting them as he continues to run through the narrow pathway. There it is, they could see it, a wide platform. Finally, he halts, asking if everyone is okay. Novice is crying, apologizing because she's the type to get stuck on things like that. Listy's heart was racing, but at least they were saved. It's all thanks to Might's efforts. Anyway, he tells them that he's going to put them down now, which the girls take as their cue to get off. The Moonlight Party resumes exploring the area until finally they encounter something. They stop and wonder in awe, asking if this is the Earth Spirit's true body. That something they saw is a hulking mass of a stone figure who commends them for coming all the way here. Children of the Earth, let me commend you, it says. So last time, our foursome left Allie and Marino at the surface while they explored the place of worship's underground, where they met a giant stone golem. Or was it the Earth Spirit? The party stands before the giant Earth entity, as the latter didn't expect the children of the Earth could enter this place. Nanasi gets a little scared. Is that voice they're hearing the Earth Spirit? Might speaks up and apologizes for their rudeness, entering the place without permission. The Earth Spirit then tells them that there's no need to do so since they obtained the key, did they not? The key the Spirit thought was lost. To think that it actually existed was beyond their expectations. Huh? The key was lost? Strange. Might thinks this Earth Spirit altar is something that opens with unlocking magic. Maybe his sage key magic is a type of magic that even beings like the Earth Spirit are unaware of. Listy uses this chance to speak to the entity, explaining that they've come to ask for a favor. The latter says if it is a wish, then they will listen well since the offerings have already been made. Wait a minute. Might questions the Earth Spirit if they're suggesting that the four of them should become offerings. There was rumbling as the place shook. The Earth Spirit tells them they can't leave this place. If they resist, they will face the power of Mother Earth. So, presented with these choices, what will they do? Wait, the Earth Spirit is an Earth Golem? Nanasi finds that odd since a monster like that shouldn't even be in this region. Might, on the other hand, is more concerned that the Golem is not an opponent you can fight when you're just around levels 1 to 3. Platina has her sword and shield ready, confirming whether the Golem would let them out if they defeat it. Well, if that happens, Listy has one more request to it. She wants it to stop turning the vegetables into monsters. Well, if the Moonlight Party can defeat it, the Earth Spirit agrees since they find the girls cute. Sure, it will grant their request. It also cheered on Might, given how he was not originally part of the offerings. The only thing on our hero's mind is not to think it's unfair, even if he has knowledge of fighting golems. The golem makes the first move and tries to attack Platina first with its hand outstretched. Listy yells at the golem to stand down and the latter does so, stopping immediately. Huh? It stopped? Does Listy's special skill work even with a level difference? Even Listy's just as surprised. Did the golem actually listen to her? Might yells at her to get away as the golem's other hand smashes the place where she was just standing not a second later. From there, an earthen hand emerged from the floor and chased Listy. In fact, multiple hands emerged, and it also chased Platina and Nanas, with the golem getting excited at how they'd make a fine spectacle if caught. Platina tries to block it off with her shield while Listy yells, "That's enough!" She takes a swing and manages to nick its forearm with her sword. Might saw that and he didn't expect it. With the weapons available around here, those shouldn't even have much effect on a golem. Even the golem itself is also surprised. It asks Listy if her sword is an earthen clod too weak to block it. Listy sensed something was coming from below and was saved by Might, as an earthen pillar suddenly sprang from where she was looking. Might flips a coin to the opponent, hitting it on the chest. As he comes to a stop, he tells Platina and Nanas to keep on moving since more are coming. True enough, multiple earthen pillars start spiking up, chasing after the girls. The Earth Spirit laughs, enjoying the chase as the damaged part from Might's coin flick starts regenerating. It's too hard to damage the core with just a coin, no? So he turns to Listy. Soon enough, the place is practically filled with earthen pillars. The Earth Spirit yells, asking if this is all they've got. If they were going to give up, then now is the time. Suddenly it hears someone from the back instructing the others to divide the roles. It was Might. He yells out that they can win if they give it everything they can. Platina comes out of the place she was hiding and taunts the golem to chase after her. But before it could focus on her, something flew and destroyed the pillars beside the golem. They're creating a distraction, huh? The golem is actually enjoying the chaos. Just then, earthen vines spring up from the ground and catch both Platina and Nanas. Just what the heck is up with this perverted golem? 2 down, 1 to go. Listy is still on the run and orders the golem to stop, but an earthen pillar emerged from her side, causing her to lose her balance. The Earth Spirit commends them for doing well as humans, but in the end, they're still inexperienced. While the golem was focused on Listy, Might flies straight to the ceiling, clutching a sword. He'll imbue this sword with magic just like he did with the coins. With that, he stabs the golem, with the latter not even having enough time to react. Its body starts crumbling as its core is now broken, with the golem asking Might how he has such power. Our hero simply told the Earth Spirit that he had trained well recently. Too bad for his opponent. Might lands on his feet, watching the remains of the golem crumble to the ground. Normally, finding the golem's core would have been Cheska's role, but surprisingly, he was able to sense the core's location too. Listy approaches him, so Might hands her the sword back, thanking her for it. It saved them. Listy says she didn't really do anything, and besides, if Might wasn't here, then who knows what could have happened by now. Just then, they hear someone running toward them, and Platina goes in and hugs Listy immediately. The latter is stunned, but Platina couldn't help it. She's just relieved that Listy is safe. They were separated for a while, and she got so worried she didn't know what to do. Nancy finally joins them, asking Might if he finally beat the huge golem. She looks at the remains, asking if this sand was the golem. But Might doesn't think this is over. They're not done talking to the Earth Spirit yet. The Earth Spirit itself is surprised at this turn of events. It didn't expect a being like Might would be in a place like this. Anyway, Might asks if the spirit could stop turning the vegetables into monsters, as per their original deal. The Earth Spirit says, as frustrating as this is, it was lost, so the spirit will do as they agreed. A promise is a promise after all. It kept on musing how it should have prepared more and changed the golem's core to a nastier location. Well, the spirit has no choice but to just use this experience to improve 100 years from now. With that, it conjured a magic circle, ushering Might and the others to return to the surface using it. The 4 remain standing, and Might can't help but feel that something's not right. Listy and the others agree. They still don't know the reason why the Earth Spirit did all of this. If anything, Might thinks the spirit sounds kind of lonely, as much as it might be presumptuous to say this about the entity. But Nanas thinks the spirit sounded that way too. During the battle, it somewhat sounded so happy. Wait, so are they saying that the Earth Spirit turned the vegetables into monsters because they were lonely and were trying to get Allie and the others' attention? Now they're curious if they could meet the Earth Spirit directly. Might notes how they haven't found anything that looks like the Earth Spirit's main body yet, which means they're still somewhere around here, no? Might walks ahead and starts inspecting the extruding part of the wall. He looks around and he finally finds it. Right there, another keyhole. It looks like there's more up ahead from here on out. Might turned to the girls, and before he could even ask, Listy tells him that they're all going together. Alright then. Might conjures a key, but as he tried to twist it, he felt something was different. Is it a trap? No. From behind, another magic circle appeared. To activate the mechanism, his magic power was drained, wasn't it? He then collapsed, but thankfully Platina caught him in time. Is he okay? The latter feels apologetic for leaving everything to him all this time. Wait, since she doesn't use her magic power for combat, then maybe she could give it to him, no? Might only looks at her, but Platina is firm. She believes she can do it. Last night she had a dream. She heard a voice say, "The lock has been opened," and she has a feeling that she gained a new ability. Oh, Listy also had that dream too, prompting the 2 girls to exchange looks. Nanas asks them then if that means they've leveled up. Listy doesn't think so, believing she just had a dream. But looking back, Might remembers that at the time when he was welcomed into the party, the voice of heaven told him that seal release was available for use. This is probably it. He turns to Platina and tells her that he thinks this new ability of hers is a special skill, but there's a certain procedure required to use it. With that said, he asks if she could bear with him a little. Eh? Might grabs her hand and puts his face close to it. Both Listy and Nancy didn't expect that, while Platina froze. Might stares at Platina's hand, wondering if this is really okay. But no, the knowledge of special skills granted by heaven can't be wrong. Ooh, Listy and Nanis are getting excited like this is really necessary, right? Nanis is urging Might to continue. As for Platina, she tells him that she's not that ungrateful. Plus, why would she doubt him now of all times? With that, Might kisses the top of her hand. Almost instantly, he could hear a voice say, "Seal release. Platina's sealed skill, Maiden's Devotion, is unlocked." She grabs Might's hand with her other hand and levels with him. She understands now. He really drew out her power. Platina didn't know that she could do things like this too. In his mind, Might wonders if what's happening is a transfer of magical power. Platina calls herself a paladin, but her true class is probably a royal order. This class is meant to serve a master of noble birth. It wouldn't be strange for her to have a special skill that allows her to offer magical power to her master. But yeah, she can use that now, huh? Might thanked her because now he has plenty of magic power. That's when Platina collapses into his arms. Whoa, is she okay? She just groans, muttering about how she messed up the intensity. The voice continues ringing in Might's mind, informing him that Seal Release 1's effect ended and that Platina's sealed skill is resealed. Listy and Nanis take her, with Listy surprised that her friend could do something like that. Nanis stares at Might suspiciously, asking if you need Might's kiss to use that skill. Wait, Platina has to ask? Then does that mean Listy could do it too? Well, Listy did have the same dream, but she doesn't really feel like she can do anything yet. In a situation like that, she might ask him to, well, less ask and more. Might saves her the embarrassment and just tells her that he'll ask for it too from her when it's necessary. That just made her pout even more and be ashamed. Listy sulks in the corner, while Nanasi tells Might that the way he said it is a little insensitive. Even Platina thinks he sounded awfully businesslike. Might tries to clear it up, but anyway, it's Listy who leads the way, saying they should go and check out the new magic circle. The foursome stepped into the magic circle and they were teleported into this vast space where floating rock platforms are connected by different staircases. Whoa, the foursome are actually on the landing of one of these rocks. Is it floating? But Platina's bigger question is if they're really underground. Nanas is cowering in fear. She's afraid of heights, but what else could they do? Listy leads the way as they start climbing the flight of stairs while Might is on their tail. Poor guy had to facepalm himself to avoid looking directly at Nanasi's bum. So, just like that, the four of them climbed and climbed until finally they reached the topmost platform. Phew, finally they're here! Nanas's legs feel like jelly, and unlike her, Platina quite enjoyed herself. It gives a sense of tension, so she doesn't dislike it. As a fan of suspension bridges, she finds it irresistible. Just then, a voice asks them how they managed to get there. They all turned to the direction of the voice and saw a giant pillar. Right in the middle of it, someone is bound by chains. The person has long hair and wonders if they summoned the party by mistake. But no, that shouldn't be. Nanis gives a little shriek upon seeing the person, and Listy asks the latter if they were the Earth Spirit. The person answers that they're a little different from an Earth Spirit. But then again, there's no point in denying it, is there? According to them, by the time they came here, they had forgotten almost everything. The only thing they're sure of is that they can't leave this place. Wait, what did they mean when they said they've forgotten? What about the story of the Miller family clearing the land, and the Earth Spirit granting blessings to the wasteland? Have they forgotten that? Hey, the person chuckles and simply tells them that they were just bored. So, on the condition that the villagers entertain them, they will bestow blessings upon the land. So all that dancing and music was just because this person wanted it? The latter confirms that what Listy had just said is correct. All the maidens dancing, music echoing, and surrounding the altar. This person delights in such a sight. Nanas comments how they look like a young boy, but they're surprisingly mature. But then again, this person isn't what they seem, no? The latter says they've lived at least 100 times longer than Nanas, much to her shock. Anyway, there's nothing more to talk about. This boy tells them that he'll just create a magic circle for their party so they can return to the surface. All three girls turn to Might, and this time, it's our hero who questions the boy. Was he bound here to bring fertility to the land or something? Might thinks that is not the case. The boy opens up that he merely lent a little hand a while ago, just as a catalyst to help the crops grow. But in reality, it was the human strength that maintained it. Well, if that's the case, Might says there won't be any problem if he leaves this place, right? The boy tells him that the chains tied around him can't be undone, at least not with the level of the humans here. The kind of level you need to undo them is... Actually, even he has no idea. Might doesn't care about that. What he wants to know is if the boy wants to be free or not. He did all those things, turning crops into monsters and making the villagers continue the festival. But the truth is, the boy was just lonely, right? At that, he was a little pissed with how Might was acting, as if he knew. But of course, Might knows. The boy has been here all alone this whole time. The boy hangs his head low. According to him, he's an entity meant to be sealed, so he probably shouldn't have such feelings. Well, Might just gives him a heads up, saying he needs to apologize to the people he inconvenienced with the monsterization. Besides, he used his power for the sake of the people too, right? Nanas also doesn't think the people would absolutely refuse to forgive him. This is the part that he doesn't understand. Why would these people go this far to help him? Instead of answering, Listy asks him what he wants to do. Because whatever it is, she's sure might will surely help. The boy is quiet and lowers his head. Without looking at them, he says that he wants to get out of here if it's possible. As soon as he said that, a lock appeared on the boy's chest. Might be able to see it. If he can see the lock, then he should be able to do this. He extends his hand and a bright light ensues. The boy couldn't believe it, but Might kept at it. He's about to run out of mana again, but he's determined to unlock the seal on this boy's chest, and he finally did it. A magic circle appeared and destroyed the chains on the boy's chest. He fell straight into Might's arms. This may be the first time that he's surprised like this. That makes two of them. Might himself doesn't completely understand the process, but when he unlocks the seal, something happens. It seems to be that kind of power. Anyway, it went well. Platina comments how Might's key is full of mysteries. To think that it could undo those chains? Nanas points out that's not the only reason they were able to save the boy. She thinks it's because Might is that kind of person. As soon as she said that, the voice in Might's head rings again. This time it tells him that a lock is released by Lockeye. A lock appears on Nanas's chest along with the message that Seal Release 11 is available. Bond limit unlocked. So that makes 3 of them. Anyway, Platina carries the boy in her arms, saying they should escape using the magic circle the latter created. Meanwhile, in the goddess's realm, Lunalith can't believe what she's seeing. That boy Platina is carrying in her arms? Why, that's the Earth Mother goddess Ursula. She didn't expect Ursula was sealed in a place like that. So as long as they have Might's white key, then maybe they could unlock all the other sealed gods too, no? Just then, Iris arrives, asking Lunalith if they should start preparing for the next soon. To that, Lunalith says the demonic dragon Letitia has finished her role and is sleeping now. She then asks Iris if she plans to summon another Demon Lord specimen. That's exactly what Iris plans to do. Hero Farina is incomplete, and Iris wants her closer to completion and to make her a divine piece. Lunalith warns her that their lord does not desire such things, especially with the way she keeps toying with the divine piece candidates too much. In Iris's defense, humans quickly forget threats and become weak, so they have to prepare a replacement for the demonic dragon for them. That's what worries Lunalith. The replacement won't necessarily be an entity with reason like Letitia. Does Iris even understand that? But the latter is not too worried. She pats her older sister's shoulder, saying if they threaten them, then they'll just have the hero help again, right? With that, Iris leaves without another word. Lunalith goes back to watching Might and the others. She knows his power is a sage. However, she must confirm what kind of power it is. Later that night, Allie and Marino happily bring the food over, urging everyone to eat their fill. They have seconds too. Might and the gang happily say, okay, and seated right next to our hero is the Earth Goddess Ursula. Of course, they don't know that yet. Platina takes a spoonful and relishes how this is truly the blessing of the earth. Freshly harvested food really does taste different, no? Nanas enjoys the food too, saying how it melts in her mouth. Listy, unlike the two, is more poised, though she did say the food is really delicious too. Allie and Marino stand nervously on the side, watching the boy. They ask if he's really okay with just water, and the latter replies that clean water is all he needs. Allie confirms with them if this child is really the Earth Spirit, but the boy clarifies that he's a little different. But now that they're at it, he commends Marino's dance. It was quite something. And Allie's too, of course. He also told them that blushing while dancing is a nice touch. That's exactly how a maiden's dance should be. He can gain vitality just from those alone. Wait, vitality? Listy had to ask if their vitality was drained as well. To be fair, the boy says the altar has that kind of purpose too, but it's not enough to make them exhausted or anything. The boy suddenly became serious and asked the mother-daughter duo if they were really sure about this. Are they not afraid of him? They all worship the former, but it also became a burden. Ultimately, he ended up wanting to make unreasonable demands. Well, Marino's father indeed got hurt, but they are still grateful to the Earth Spirit. Allie adds that it's thanks to him that the area is so fertile. The boy begs to differ. The bountiful harvest is a result of their hard work. Allie puts her hand over the boys, telling the latter that meeting the Earth Spirit is nothing but an honor. Marino thinks her father and grandfather think the same way too. Is that so? Oh! The boy puts his hand over his chest. He remembers now, and it's all thanks to them. With that, she introduces herself as Ursula. They can just call her Uru. Everybody smiles at her, with Allie even calling her Lady Uru. Uru says she can drop the lady. After all, she's the one being taken care of. Uru turns to Listy, Platina, and Nanas, pleased to meet them as well. Then she reveals how she doesn't really like men, but she'll make a special exception and acknowledge our hero, the Sage Might. Oh ho! This is the first time he's acknowledged as a sage, and not gonna lie, it made him happy. After dinner, the girl trio went to the bath. Listy herself is already feeling revived from the waters. Platina enjoys it too, but she didn't expect a bathhouse this large in a private mansion since it's pretty rare. What makes this even better is that the hot water used here is drawn from a hot spring. Nanas gives them a little trivia about how there are places where hot water comes out of the ground all on its own. At that, someone says it's because finding a hot spring with her power is simple, though it isn't something you can find just anywhere. Oh ho, so Uru has that kind of power. Wait, Nanasi hunches over, hiding herself as Uru comes walking in her birthday suit. Even Listy and Platina do their best to cover their chest, asking if it's okay for Uru to come in with them. Uru is not fazed in the least. In fact, she says seeing people blush is really nice. If there's no shyness, Master wouldn't be thrilled either, would he? Wait, Master? Is she talking about Might? Uru simply tells them that he freed her, so it's only natural for her to call him her master. Anyway, the girls moved on pretty quickly as Listy offered to wash Uru's back, while Platina said she'd wash Listy's. Nanas already expected this since Platina always washes Listy's back after all. Meanwhile, our hero Might sits by himself quietly. He stares at his hand thinking about how the magic of the white key remains an unknown variable even in the end. But just like with the coin, he was able to imbue magic into the sword. At the very least, he's getting used to handling magic. What he needs to do now is to continue practicing manipulating magic itself. Wait, now that he thinks about it, Uru said she was going to take a bath with him, no? Back to Uru. She enjoys her back getting scrubbed and thanks Platina. She's really good at this. Uru asks if Platina has ever done this for her master and the latter stutters. She's never done something like that, okay? Platina douses Uru with water to wash her off. Meanwhile, Nanase notes how Uru is pretty grateful to Might, no? Uru says it's only natural because he opened her door. That made Listy and Nanase curious. Wait a second, could Uru be a— No need to say more because Uru tells them that she's a woman. Anyway, what does it matter when she said that she likes watching dancers? Gender has got nothing to do with it, right? What's more, she warns them that if they're careless, then she might just take the master for herself. She has a trump card too, you know? Nanas clarifies that she doesn't feel that way about Might, while Platina claims she has no idea what Uru is talking about. Listy, for one, is pretty surprised at this development. But then again, this just also means that they shouldn't make assumptions. After their bath, Uru was heading to Might's room until Listy and Nanase stopped her. Well, they were just wondering if the former would like to sleep with them. It's a no from Uru, but Listy and Nanase still dragged her away. Okay, if her master is fine with it, then so is she. At the mention of that, Might asks if she's referring to him. Just calling him Might is fine as it is, but for Uru, the name is a matter of principle for her. With that, she bids him goodnight, waving before the door slams shut. For some reason, their vibe seems to be completely different from before they bathed. Wait, to begin with, even if Uru is an earth spirit, they've taken the form of a young boy. Is it really okay for an entity like her to bathe and sleep with Listy and the girls? But then again, didn't he used to do the same with Mabel? Well, there's no point in overthinking it. Still, the nightwear they were wearing was distracting. He has to thank his sage class for helping him keep his cool. So, he'll just leave it at that and settle in bed. His last thoughts as he lay in bed were that he should sleep well tonight, given how he used a lot of mana today. Meanwhile, in the other room, Uru is already fast asleep in bed while the OG trio watches her quietly. Listy turns to Platina, finally addressing the elephant in the room. What's up with her? Yeah, even Nanase agrees. Platina has been acting strange. Well, the paladin has always been a little weird, but still. Platina tries to feign innocence. What are they talking about? Listy shushes them both, looking at Uru as she does so. The other two follow suit as Platina begins to speak. Actually, it's all about what happened during the fight with the golem. She's referring to that kiss Might did. Platina knows it was necessary, but now she just doesn't know how to act around him. Now it's just starting to feel so embarrassing. Nanase scolds her then, because if she makes a big deal out of it, then Might will feel bad. Besides, didn't Platina choose him precisely because she trusts him? The paladin facepalms, then counters that Nanase may be saying all that now, but even her face is bright red. At that, the latter admits that she's been feeling kind of weird ever since they left the ruins. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, but do Listy and Platina feel it too? Platina replies that Might indeed brought out her power, but a little while ago she got this really strange feeling too, like she was embarrassed or restless. Listy wonders if Might needing their mana and drawing out their power allowed them to use those skills. Nanase then confirms with Platina that she's a paladin, right? Are they normally able to use skills like that? Before answering, Platina turns to Listy and she nods as if giving the former permission. Platina finally reveals that her true class is actually Royal Order. She can't really talk about the details yet, but given the role of her class, being able to transfer mana to someone else isn't all that surprising. Oh, Royal Order, Nanase had no idea. Platina asks if she's not mad. She just smiles. Why would she be mad? Even people in her class, the apothecary, hide it sometimes after all, like, you know? There are all sorts of medicines out there. You could end up dealing with unlicensed doctors or get treated by scary syndicates. Still, Platina being too embarrassed to even show her face in front of Might? Whew, she got it bad, huh? At that, Platina feels the full force of her embarrassment again. Ugh, just kill her already. Listy shushes her again. Nenace crawls closer to Platina. She wasn't going to say anything, but man, Platina has quite a naughty negligee right there. The comment made Platina conscious, covering herself up as she tells Nenace not to say such things, but maybe this kind of negligee is normal around here. Oh, Listy gets it now, so that's why Platina was acting embarrassed. Platina and Nenace exchange looks. They can't believe this girl. Is she just completely oblivious? Well, in her defense, Platina points out that Listy has always been a little out of touch with stuff like this. Hey, what are they saying? Listy now feels conscious. Is there something wrong with her outfit? Instead of answering, both Nanace and Platina suggest they just head to bed, Listy's question falling on deaf ears. As she closes her eyes and lies in bed that night, Listy wonders if she acted like that too. Would she get overly conscious about it to Might? If she did, then that would be bad. The next day at Velder Holy Kingdom, what the people were saying was loud and clear. Among many things, obviously they were in awe at how Farina managed to slay the dragon. Well, actually they're kind of rushing to confirm it, but there's no mistake, she is a true hero. But then, there's another kind of chatter that doesn't appeal to her. They are determined to keep her here at all costs. From what they heard, the Cardinals are doing everything in their power to do that as well. Would a status or territory persuade the hero Farina to stay? Word on the street is that they are even arranging a marriage with a prince from a neighboring country. Meanwhile, at the knight's territory in the Marquis Laurier's estate, the people's hero, Farina, sits by herself with her back hunched. A voice calls out to her. It was Sheska. She's worried for her friend, urging Farina to eat. Without looking at her elf friend, Farina asks why she's still alive. With sadness in her voice, Sheska says it's because that's what Might wanted. This just made Farina lower her head even more. Might was always putting everyone else before himself. Sheska puts the food down, adding that she too feels responsible. She couldn't protect Might from the curse of death when they defeated the demon dragon. She feels bad because she was powerless when it mattered most. When Might shielded her, Farina admits that she felt relieved. She wasn't afraid to die in all honesty. Sheska grabs her shoulder, saying Farina should never say that. If she rejects her own survival, then Might's sacrifice will have been nothing. Farina remains unmoved as she remembers how the goddess refused to grant their wish. The goddess said she would grant them a one-sided reward and nothing more. At that, Sheska finally lets her friend go. Now that Might is gone, Sheska is the only one left who can hold Farina together. Anju also went back to where she belongs, so Sheska has no choice but to step up and be the big sister. She opens the door leading to their balcony, with Farina behind her. Here's an idea. They should go look for Might. It's just a possibility, but they might find some clues in his hometown. Wait, what is Sheska trying to tell her? That Might isn't dead? But Might was right there in her arms. Well, Sheska points out that Might faded away, but they don't know for sure if the demon dragon's curse actually killed him. She feeds Farina optimism, saying there might be a chance that he was teleported somewhere else. Doesn't she think so? And that was more than enough for Farina to look up, a little hopeful. Sheska used this chance to urge her friend to eat. After all, she needs strength to look for him. Farina says she will, because if she doesn't, then Might will laugh at her. Sheska joins her at the table, assuring her that he won't laugh. After all, he was always watching over Farina like a big brother. Brother, huh? Farina never actually thought of him like that. For her, Might is just Might. Speaking of Might, we switch back to our hero's end. Now that their mission is done, the Moonlight Party is ready to return to the city. They thank Ali and Marino for the carriage ride. Ali tells them it's no biggie since she's on her way to visit her husband anyway. Marino thanks them again so much for their work. Listy thanks them then for adding extra to the reward, but oh, it was no problem at all. On the contrary, Ali still feels bad that they made the girls go through such trouble when it wasn't even part of the request. Besides, it almost feels like she has gained another daughter, leaving Might wondering, daughter? What daughter? Oh, Uru. So Ursula is going to be taken by Miller and his family, huh? Are they all okay with that? Obviously, both Ali and Marino are already taken with Uru, while Uru herself says the two were so insistent so she can't really say no. Well, if they're okay with that, Might tells them not to push themselves too hard. After all, Ali's husband is still recovering. At that, they both beam at him. Suddenly, the locks on their chests appear, telling Might that they'll all be perfectly fine. They actually have a decent amount of savings, you know. Might is stunned. Does this mean another bond limit has been unlocked? No, he shouldn't just assume it means they've grown closer. Now he wonders what it feels like when those locks open. Just then Uru starts teasing him. Look at Might staring so intently. Her master is quite experienced, huh? He'll wrap a maiden like Marino right around his finger. That made the latter flustered. She's incredibly inexperienced too, you know. Now Nanace scolds him. He just can't talk about naughty things right out in the open like this, eh? Now Might is confused. They weren't talking about that at all. Anyway, Ali urges Marino to go visit her dad. Might chimes in asking her to send his regards to him since he didn't get the chance to say hello himself. Might adds that he'll also come in and check on Uru too. At the mention of her name, Uru quickly wraps her arms around him since her master insists she'll let him. Then, through his mind, she tells him that she'll always be watching him. Finally, they part ways. Listy approaches him with narrowed eyes, so Might wants to say hello to Marino's father, eh? Even he feels a little hurt at her suspicious glare. Platina chimes in that if Might came to pay his respects, she has a feeling even the most stubborn father would cave in, yes, even her own father. Wait, now that they're talking about fathers, Nanase raises how she doesn't recall either Platina or Listy ever mentioning their own families. Uh-oh, now that made the two flinch. Well, it's not that Nanase minds, she's perfectly happy just adventuring with them both right now. She even warns Might not to go prying on them even if he's curious. Plus, she insists that it's really fine if both Listy and Platina continue acting refined. Still, the two apologize for keeping secrets from their party. Nanase is only kidding. Call her shameless, but honestly, she thinks of them more like friends rather than just a party. All this talk made Might smile, and it did not go unnoticed. The girls turned to him, surprised that he actually smiled. It's rare, seeing how he's always calm and collected. They didn't know he could smile like that. Wait, Might is a little taken aback. Does he really not smile that much? Suddenly, he's reminded of his own party, of Sheska telling him back then how he was too serious and that maybe he should practice smiling with Farina. The latter then says how she doesn't mind watching him practice, but she won't do it. Even Enju chimes in that Farina looks like she's having fun herself. Nanase's voice snaps Might back to reality. She tells him that if he keeps staring off into space like that, she'll doodle on her face. Oh yeah, right. Might smiles at them, saying they should hurry back and report to the guild, leaving the girls trailing after him in a hurry. Just like that, Moonlight Party returns to the guild, where one of the guild staff confirms whether they've completed the request. Based on the job order, the deadline for the request was a week, and yet they've already completed it. Amazing. Listy even shows her the reward they've received and shares how their employer added a little extra on top of the listed amount. Well, that just goes to show how excellently they handled the job. The staff also tells them that they'll add that to the party's evaluation. So, the request was about monsters at the farm, no? The staff will now check the subjugation records on their guild cards and request the adventurers to hand over the cards. Listy and the others do as they're told, and while the process is ongoing, many of the adventurers watch in ire from the side. Wait, hold on, did they really take on the job with that newbie guy? The guys are freaking jealous. Some of them even went so far as to vow that the new guy, aka Might, won't get away with his actions. Just then another voice chimes in, questioning the rest about what they were blabbering about. Here comes a blonde adventurer, sparkling, boasting about how he had just finished a job himself. And of course, it's a blue card level job to boot. So, who's this guy again? From what Nanase remembers, his name is Brand, or something like that. Listy tells Brand that they too will do their best so they can become blue cards soon. Well, yeah, Brand doesn't really have any rebuttal to that. His maid appears from the side asking, is that all? But Brand continues that blue cards are the upper-tier adventurers in this guild. If Listy would like, he could help build up her track record. Platina interrupts him, stating that there is no need for his help. Nanase chimes in, saying they're handling their request just fine on their own. They don't need any guidance at the moment. Well, Brand doesn't exactly have anything else to say to that, as his maid starts pulling him away, but of course he has something else to say. He continues how it happens to everyone, a time when youth makes you overestimate your own abilities. But for today he shall respect their pride. Finally he opens the door, telling Gramps and Dorothea that they should go. At the mention of the two, they step forward and apologize to the Moonlight Party. Gramps introduces himself as Melvin, saying he serves as the butler in Brand's party. Dorothea then follows, saying she's Brand's maid. Melvin adds that their young master means no harm, he simply sees them as promising adventurers. Dorothea says there's no need for them to accept the young master's invitations. With that, he urges them to continue to deal with him strictly from here on out. Looking at them like this, Mike can't help but think how these two feel less like servants and more like Brand's minders or chaperones. Upon hearing that, Listy concludes Brand must be a noble or something. Is it really okay for them to treat him like that? Melvin chuckles. She must be unfamiliar with the House of Schweik then, no? Oh, but then again, he remembers how they mentioned that the party has recently arrived in the city, no? Before he could say anything else, Dorothea cut him off by just saying his name. With that, the two bowed their heads, wishing that the goddess would bless them, while the Moonlight Party just looked on. Platina is the first to speak, saying that the old man is no ordinary fellow. What's more, the maid's movements were completely devoid of openings. Might tells them that they're just as capable. After all, the three of them are getting stronger. So, with that, he's counting on them. Listy and the others are too stunned to speak. Are they really? Just then, the guild staff call their attention. She finds something strange. There's a red name coded in there, an earth golem. She's a little troubled because if one of those appeared around here, then an evacuation order would normally be issued. Listy whispers to Might, asking what a red name is. Oh well, it basically means a formidable enemy, but now he wonders if it will be bad if he mentions Ursula. Might approaches the counter, explaining that an earth golem was actually the root cause of the monsters appearing in the vegetable fields, and, they somehow managed to defeat it. The staff is shocked to hear that. Everyone else in the guild feels the same as the place starts getting noisier. Seriously? They beat a red name? The staff flips through the guidebook, saying the recommended subjugation level for an earth golem is 15 and the safe subjugation level is considered to be 20. If they defeated a monster with that much of a level difference, then their levels must have gone up too. Now that she mentioned it, Nanase says she does feel like she was stronger when she woke up this morning. The staff finally hands them back their guild cards, congratulating them. Since their leader, Listy, has reached level 5, the color of their guild cards will change. They took their cards, staring at them. They actually did it. They're blue cards now. Might is still at level 1 though, even after all that trouble of defeating a red name. Does leveling up after a class change require a massive amount of experience? Or are there special conditions he needs to meet first? The guild staff adds that since they defeated a red name monster, there will be a special reward. Red name monsters are essentially like having bounties on their heads. So, Listy's party can choose their special reward, though she highly recommends citizenship in Fortune and the lease of a residence. The city council intends to encourage them to use this city as a long-term base. With that said, they wouldn't be forced to participate in subjugation missions even if a powerful monster were to appear. Platina ponders for a bit. So, 3 women living together with a man. Is this what they call cohabitation? Listy's and Nanase's whips toward Might. He holds his hand up, saying just because they're a party doesn't mean that it's a given they should live together. Listy quickly explains, flustered, and it's not that she's against Might living with them. Like, it's not that she thinks it's a bad idea to share living space with him or anything. The staff intervenes, explaining that they can also choose magical equipment or letters of recommendation to nobles instead of a house. The 3 girls exchange looks before Listy tells her that they'll take the residence lease. After all, they will be using this town as their base for a while anyway. The staff hands them a pair of house keys, with Listy giving Might the spare one. He asks if she's sure, while the other adventurers at the guild lament his good fortune with the girls. They didn't want to accept him sharing living quarters with the girls. Neither Might nor the girls cared anyway. Might suggests they head to the house right away, but Nanase approaches him with a favor in mind. She shows him the slime base that was inside the goblin's chest, wondering if he could help her with a little experiment. Might doesn't really mind, and that's when he notices that both Listy and Platina slide away. The paladin says they'll go ahead and take a look at the house, with Listy adding that they'll just meet the other 2 later. Judging from their reactions, they must have gone through the ringer with Nanase's experiments, Might accompanies Nanase to the open fields near the lake. While she prepares for the experiment, he starts asking questions to make small talk. Based on his memory, apothecaries use slimes for a variety of purposes, no? That's right, slimes are magical creatures, but as long as an apothecary has the right materials, then they can actually create them. Nanase herself learned this on her own, since this isn't taught in the textbooks. Hey, Might finds that pretty impressive. At that, Nanase stands taller, proud of her accomplishment. She may not look it, but she's actually quite the hard worker. Now that Might realizes it, aren't the recipes an apothecary can craft restricted by their level? Is her level even high enough to handle a slime? At that, she answers that they don't know until they try. Now Might understands why Listy and Platina aren't into it, so he asks what happens if the experiment fails. Well, if they're unlucky, it might explode. So he follows up with another question: shouldn't she just wait until she has leveled up enough first? Nanase suddenly becomes frantic, grabbing him and asking him to wait. She just has a feeling she can make it work if Might is here with her. Alright, fine, he gets it. She's way too close. Nanase fetches water using her water bag, while Might continues to ask questions. Is water and the slime base all she needs for this experiment? To that, she says that to truly create a unique slime, she's going to add earth golem sand. It should work for imbuing it with the earth element. Well, Might can see that it certainly looks like it houses the power of the earth spirit, remembering Uru as he said it. Nanase is fairly positive that these are the right materials, but it feels like there's still something missing. She just doesn't know what it is. But with Might here, she really feels like this is going to succeed. As she keeps raising the mixture, a potion slips from her hand. Good thing Might caught it in time, but as they put the 2 mixtures together, something else happened. Seal release 1 activated. Nanase's sealed skill, Mana Synthesis, is unlocked. Oh, Might notices how his mana is being drawn out, with him asking her what in the world is happening. Nanasi, on the other hand, says she figured it out, the final ingredient needed to complete this recipe. They poured the contents into the pot as she revealed that mana is needed to act as a raw material. Looking at the mixture, she realizes that her mana alone wasn't enough, it's all thanks to him. With this, it's finally complete. Mana synthesis is successful. Now the armed slime is being generated. Suddenly something spouts out of the pot. It's a cute slime. Or is it a slime? Wait, no. Nanasi covers Might's eyes while she tells the slime to at least fashion itself with more clothes. Well, it is an armed slime, so its final form is with armor. So it can create hard armor just like a golem. Did it take a humanoid shape because they used the golem sand? Nanasi asks if the armed slime can understand what she's saying, and it nods in return. It gives off about the same amount of pressure as the earth golem. Might asks if it can try throwing a punch for him, showing him how to throw a punch. The slime raises its fist and punches the ground with so much power. Whoa, this is amazing. Even though it was just born, it looks like it can fight perfectly well. Now that got Nanasi worried that he'll decide that he only needs the golem and not her. To that, Might points out that she's the slime's master, so how well it performs from here on out depends entirely on her. Yikes, that's a pretty big responsibility, huh? Nanasi approaches the slime and decides to call it AMU since it is an armored one after all. She asks AMU how she likes the name, and the latter echoes her name. Then it leans closer to Nanasi, calling her master. Wah! That's more than enough to get Nanasi excited. Did Might see that? AMU spoke and called her master. Just then AMU throws her arms around Might with her boobs all over his face, saying she wants more food. He could feel her draining his mana as he tells her that he still doesn't have that much mana to spare. Might is just about ready to pass out when Nanasi finally tells Amy that she can't take any more mana out of him. A moment later, she transforms back to being a slime. Nanasi takes AMU in her arms, saying once they level up and make her stronger, she should be able to stay transformed for longer. But more importantly, is this what it feels like to have a daughter? Whatever the case, Might suggests they just go and check out the house after he rests for a bit, which Nanasi agrees to. Meanwhile, at the Thieves Guild, someone sends a letter to Mabel saying it was from Eek. After reading it, she tells him to send out a liaison to Might, no, to Crow. Later that night at their new house, Nanasi notices something different about Listy. Has she gotten a little bigger than before? Listy sounds troubled, maybe she has gained weight, but Platina assures her friend that she probably just toned up since she started adventuring. Platina herself says she needs to train harder too. Then they ask Might what he thinks, with our hero having his back turned to them. When he didn't reply, Listy called him asking if he did not want to be with them. How did it end up like this? Might still refused to answer or look at them. He's focused on trying to keep calm so he can just think this through. He's a sage, he just needs to empty his mind and reach a state of nothingness. Let's wind it back to how he ended up in this position. Might and Nanase finally reach their new house and admire it from where they're standing. It's a fairly new house considering the guild is letting them rent it for free, so this is their home now. No, wait, Nanase doesn't mean anything weird by saying that. Just then they hear their names being called. Platina opens the door with Listy right behind her. The latter says she went ahead and started tidying up the house, but wait, what is that? Both Listy and Platina ask Nanase what happened to her. Is that the result of her experiment? And by that, they mean her enlarged breasts jiggling around. Nanase clarifies that it's not what it looks like, it's just that she seems to find it really comfortable there. Suddenly, something bolts right out of Nanase's chest. Listy asks if that's slime, and yup, she's an armed slime called AMU. Platina and Listy start patting Nanase's head, happy to know that the little one's experiment was a success. They congratulate her, with Listy apologizing since they couldn't help with the experiment. Nanasi is happy with the head pats she got, though she tells both her friends that she's not a child, you know? Now that Platina remembers it, she tells Might that the bedrooms are 2 doubles, so someone will have to share a room. He's not too keen on that. Wouldn't that be a bad idea? To that, Platina proudly tells them that since she's the big sister, she's okay with it. In Might's mind, he wonders if his getting younger made him look that much like a kid. Listy raises her hand, saying she's okay with it too, but Platina insists she should have her own room. Might turns to Nanasi asking if she's okay with sharing, and the latter is more than happy to. They're comrades who worked on an experiment together, you know. AMU is getting hungry though, whining about food, but Listy and Platina just smile at her. With that settled, Listy says she'll head to the market to buy groceries. With the kitchen looking so nice, she's really not too keen on using it. Might offers to come with her to carry her bags. Nanasi will stay so she can inspect the house's facilities, with Platina adding that they should do a bit of cleaning too. At the market, Might trails after Listy. She buys bread, and right after, he asks if she's a good cook. Listy shares that she actually has the cooking skill, though it's only at the beginner level. He might think it weird for a swordsman to have this skill, but her sentence gets cut off. One of the vendors calls out to them, "Cute little adventurers." Listy approaches her asking if she has any recommendations. The vendor says these should be perfectly fine for them if they're young. They're Mulan berries. They're sweet and delicious this time of the year. If that's the case, Listy would like to avail himself of 4 of them. The vendor packs up her order, warning Listy that she shouldn't stay up too late after eating them. With that, she hands it over with a wink. The 2 of them continue with their grocery shopping as the vendor bids them to come again. With the groceries done, they head back home. Along the way, Listy can't believe the vendor really called him little boy. If only she knew how much more capable Might is. Might, on the other hand, senses they're being watched. He frees his right hand and makes a sign, wondering if this is a message from the Thieves' Guildmaster. The hiding man signs back, asking if he is indeed Crow. Then he proceeds to inform Might through sign language that the guildmaster wishes to meet with him outside the guild. Might gets it and asks where. The man replies equally in sign, saying they will meet at Hawk 19 before taking his leave. Outside the guild, huh? Then this is no ordinary matter. Is it a consultation or a favor? Back at home, Listy starts peeling the vegetables while Might puts the other groceries away. But Listy really is a natural at this, huh? Just then Nanas calls out to him, asking if he could take a look at the bath. He does as she requested, and from the window Nanas says it looks like it uses a magic tool to heat the water. Might looks around and finds a floating crystal embedded in the wall. This must be it. Okay, first he'll test it out to see if it works. Might tries pouring mana into it, hoping it works. He did, but from the other side Nanase says the water is still cold. Alright, this time Might uses his lock eye skill. There, he discovered a lock on the heating magic tool. He conjures a key in his hand, thinking how this probably isn't the proper way to use it, but if he inserts a key, will it work? He does exactly that and turns the key. From the other side, Nanasi informs him that the water is getting warm. Phew. Suddenly, there's a ringing in his ear informing him that his level has increased to 2, a new skill acquired. Whoa, so there are several triggers for leveling up. But did it really have to be right now? For a sage, does it have to be related to the amount of mana used? Cut to the next panel. They're finally having dinner. Nanase is so happy because it's so delicious. Even Might is surprised. Listy really is a good cook. Listy owes it all to some of the vegetables Ali shared with them. Meanwhile, Platina almost slipped, saying how Listy was preparing to be a bride, like cooking is her hobby, which is why Listy practices often. That catches Might's attention, but Listy hands him an after-dinner dessert to distract him. Oh, the berries from before. They all took a bite and it's just as the vendor said, it's good. Platina adds that the sweetness is just right. Nanasi is in her apothecary mode, seeing how eating this fruit seems to speed up mana recovery. She might be able to make a new medicine with this as an ingredient. Looking at his hand, Mike can feel how this fruit is recovering his mana. Should he have bought as many as he could? But wait, his body feels a little hot though. Nanasi asks AMU if she also wants some and gives her the other half of her fruit, which AMU happily eats. Platina says they'll clean up and wash the dishes so Mike can go ahead and bathe first. Listy agrees, but Mite feels a bit bad at leaving the chores to them, and yet he did as they suggested. Mite relaxes in the bath and checks his body. The old scars he had before changing classes are gone. At this rate, Farina and the others might not even recognize him. As for his current goal, he wants to level up as a sage, surpass the high-level brackets, and reunite with Farina and the others. If possible, he wants to do it together with everyone at the Moonlight Party. Still, he never expected leveling up the sage class to be this difficult. At this rate, he'll be the only one who can't keep up in the next level bracket. Besides, he noticed how Listy is most likely of noble birth. Now he worries if they can really make it out of this level bracket. If only Farina and the others would come to fortune, no? But then again, he can't think of any reasons why his old party would do so. Just then, he hears the clack of the bathroom door, the signal that it's being opened, accompanied by several footsteps. Before he realized it, the other three had appeared before him with nothing but a towel wrapped around their bodies. Is it okay for them to join him? Join him? Listy says it's fine, they're party members after all. The poor guy doesn't even have the chance to say no since Platina is already complaining about how her body is so hot. How can she calm this fever down? Listy thinks it's best to bathe and freshen up while Nanasi is already seeing doubles because of the heat. Oh, wait a minute. He remembers what the vendor told them earlier that morning. If they were young, she said. Is that what she meant by that? Crap, what the hell did that vendor sell them? While he was busy pondering over this, Listy and the others had settled at the edge of the bath. Platina comments on how this has a different charm compared to public baths. Mite's escape route is blocked though, he's stuck. At that, he asks if they should really be relaxed like this. Listy replies that they're just really glad that he joined their party. Even though they're still inexperienced, he's bringing out their true potential. At first, Nanasi admits she judged him based on his level, but every night she goes to sleep thinking about how much of an amazing person he is. There was a splash as he partially turned and saw the girls had entered the bath. There, he could see that his passive skill, Lock Eye 2, reveals the second lock to both living and non-living things. There's a red lock, completely different from the white ones he has seen so far, and these ones are located in different parts of the girls' bodies. Nanasi reaches him first and slumps over him. When he checks to see if she's okay, the poor girl has passed out. Both Listy and Platina are also on the verge of losing their consciousness. Might have had to practically beg them to keep it together. He could handle one person, but all three of them are too much. So in the end, he's the one who put them to bed. Thankfully, they were able to somehow manage to get dressed on their own. As for him, he just went with the flow and somehow ended up sharing a room with Listy, who currently has her back turned to him. He asks aloud if it's really okay for him to sleep here. She flinches at the sound of his voice and asks in reply if he's awake. He tells her he is, while Listy sits up and apologizes. Ever since after dinner, she doesn't remember much, but she does vaguely feel like something good happened. Well, to be fair, everyone was pretty tired. Listy hugs one knee to her chest as she confesses that there's something she hasn't told Might. Neither she nor Platina has been using their real names. Did Might notice that? Instead of answering, he keeps quiet before saying how he could kind of tell just by watching her act. He thinks she's doing a pretty good job at hiding it, though. He really is amazing, huh? Ever since coming here, Listy says nobody else has been able to figure it out. Might asks why she decided to become an adventurer. Listy pauses for a second longer before saying it's because she wanted to become stronger. But that's not all. She wanted to see all sorts of places with her own eyes and learn about them. He didn't expect to hear that, so is that why she came to this town with Platina? With a smile, Listy reveals Platina is her best friend, though the latter would probably scold her if she heard Listy call her that. Listy also shares how Platina calling herself a paladin was also for Listy's sake. Might knows Platina's true class is Royal Order, a class whose role is to serve those of noble birth. In other words, Listy's true class must be. Listy still hesitates to tell him her true class, so he saves her the trouble of doing it. He knows she's a swordswoman, their party's main attacker. Plus, she's got the cooking skills too. At that, she tells him that she learned how to cook completely unrelated to her class. But yeah, Might gets it. If she wants to keep being an adventurer, then he'll support her all the way. He's grateful to her for partying with a guy who can barely even use basic magic. Even if her true identity happens to be a princess or something, he assures her his feelings won't change. That's all there is to it. Listy lowers her head, then lies back in bed, turning her back to him. In a quiet voice, she thanks him, glad that they were able to talk. Might lies in bed too, remembering his kid self and his past life. Back then, he also wanted to become stronger and see all sorts of places with his own eyes. Those were the exact same feelings he had when he first set out from this town.